Meet our hero, a guy burning through cash on a game with absolutely terrible gacha rates. Turns out this is Ling Chen, a rich orphan who's decided to pour his inheritance into gaming. Unfortunately for him, fate's got a cruel twist. He's terminally ill with only 3 months left. So with his time running out, he's making a bucket list of exactly one item. And his final challenge is to hit a level in Divine Fantasy Chronicle no one's ever touched. After who knows how long, he actually pulls it off and clears the impossible mission, having burned through millions and countless all-nighters to finally beat the game. This next morning, the sun rises on his glorious screen-tanned victory. But his moment of peace is interrupted by his sister, who's not impressed by his gaming habits. She brings him some food anyway, and he thanks Lady Runa for taking care of him. But just as he's about to eat, his vision blurs and he collapses right in front of her. Everything goes black before he's pulled through some kind of portal into a fantasy landscape. Waking up completely disoriented, he has no idea where he is or how he got there. And his body feels incredibly heavy as he finds himself holding a mysterious woman, who immediately calls him hero and begs him to save the continent of Era, standard stuff. But something about her voice clicks in his head. It sounds way too familiar, and when he asks who she is, she calls him trash brother for forgetting their bond, which is probably not the heartfelt reunion she was hoping for. Because it finally dawns on him, he's been isekai'd into the very game he just beat, and this supposed savior is the scammer NPC who constantly drained his resources in the game. Ling Chen's brain is short-circuiting, trying to figure out if he's just hallucinating the scammer NPC. She offers to prove it's real with a little test, leaning in with a not-so-friendly smile, and immediately decks him right in the face just to make sure the message lands. Yep, that sensation is definitely real, confirming his worst nightmare has officially come true. He's barely processing his new reality when he sees his sister, Runa, being cornered by some thug, as a massive brute of a man comes stomping into the room looking for trouble. Turns out this guy Gao is demanding Runa be his, while she begs him to leave her sick brother alone. She tries to shield Ling Chen, telling him to rest while she handles the absolute creep. But our boy is completely lost. Why is his real-world sister suddenly here in the game? Runa just casually explains this is their home, which only makes things way more confusing. It gets weirder when he recognizes Gao from his old life too, just as the guy keeps hitting on Runa. This scammer NPC, whose name is Fu, finally decides to explain, starting with the fact he was supposed to be dead. Apparently, clearing that impossible mission triggered a system resurrection, plopping him right into the game world. She says the more money he spent, the bigger the bonus, but his whale level spending caused a backlash that weakened him. So he literally paid millions to get isekai'd into a frail body. A lesson in financial responsibility, I guess. Luckily for him, she's prepared a little starter pack of items to get him on his feet. Back in the room, Gao gives him a choice: hand over Runa or he'll wipe out their entire family. He calls Ling Chen a coward for walking away and starts a dramatic 3-second countdown. Ling Chen might be confused about the details, but he knows exactly what needs to be done right now. And before Go can even finish his threat, a flaming fist is already rearranging his face. Go dives in with a glowing fist, yelling about making the choice for him, but Ling Chen casually catches the punch, his own hand glowing with way more power. And with a single blast of icy energy, he sends the thug flying across the room. This attack leaves Go completely stunned that his signature move was so easily shut down, while Ling Chen mocks him for being a low-level martial artist against his new gear. And as he's flexing, Fu pipes up to correct him on her name, just to be clear. Humiliated, Gao furiously orders his lackeys to jump in and finish the job for him. So his two goons power up their own generic-looking green magic for a group beatdown. Ling Chen isn't fazed in the slightest, surrounded by a menacing red aura of his own. Deciding it doesn't matter if they're NPCs or real people, they're all going down the same, and in a flash of blue light, he unleashes a skill that slices through them instantly, proudly declaring this is the true, undisputed power of a pay-to-win champion. In the aftermath, the entire crew is left unconscious on the floor, completely neutralized, while our boy stands there looking like he barely even broke a sweat. Just then, another familiar face bursts in, a big guy ready for cleanup duty. And Ling Chen realizes yet another person from his past, Taki, has been pulled into this world. Taki rushes over, relieved to see his boss is okay after they were apparently tricked, immediately pulling both Ling Chen and Fu into a massive, tear-filled bear hug of relief, which Ling Chen is clearly not enjoying one bit as he gets completely smothered. But Fu cuts the reunion short, warning him that taking out these guys means the Izumi clan is coming for them next. Taki agrees, saying if they just sit around, the Izumi clan will definitely come to wipe them out. And he asks the big question, with a clan of killers on the way, how strong is Ling Chen now? Ling Chen thinks back to the game's mechanics, where classes rank up from skilled to legendary, remembering that the thug Gao was only a second-tier skilled martial artist, and with a smirk that could curdle milk, he gets ready to reveal his own power level. A look so confident you'd think he was about to declare himself a god. But instead, he cheerfully he's at beginner level, not even a proper novice. Taki's jaw hits the floor as Ling Chen points to the little green sprout icon as proof of his noob status. Runa looks on, her face filled with a whole new level of concern, which sends Taki into a panic, telling her to grab Ling Chen and run for the hills immediately. He's fully prepared to stay behind and die heroically to buy them time. A classic, terrible idea. Ling Chen just pats him on the head, explaining that with his gear, low-level thugs are no problem. To prove it, he pulls out a special book he wants to share with them, and Taki, ever the intellectual, just asks what it is. He then complains that books give him a headache, completely oblivious to its potential power. Runa, however, steps forward, determined to learn how to fight for herself. But as she takes the book, her expression shifts to one of pure shock, and she starts blushing furiously while clutching the mysterious Divine Body Arts manual. A close-up on the title is surrounded by some very suspicious-looking pink skull icons. As Ling Chen internally vows he'll never let his little sister learn such a ridiculous technique. Fu tells him to just ignore the weird book and focus on the skills he already has. But Taki immediately proves her wrong, showing off the power he got from one breathing exercise. Ling Chen knew it. Anything the system gives him is the real deal, just like in the game. Though he's a bit annoyed that only the first chapter is unlocked for now. Just then, a new blindfolded woman appears, getting uncomfortably close to tease him about his next steps, explaining that he'll unlock more of the book's secrets as soon as he levels up. And with a sharp flick to his forehead, she officially starts his next quest, teleporting him to a lake with the thrilling mission of fishing all day with a single rod. He immediately complains that hunting a level 4 material as a total beginner is just ridiculous. But she coolly reminds him that having 10 job classes means the grind is 10 times harder. Ling Chen's confidence returns as he remembers he's the Night King who already mastered this side quest. Laying out his strategy to lure the target out with a two-step baiting process, he scatters the bait across the water, setting the stage for his legendary catch. And almost instantly, he gets a massive bite on the line. Our boy grabs the rod, knowing the exact timing needed to reel this thing in. And with a huge pull, he calls for the Golden Fin King to come out of the water, only to find he's hooked some kind of mermaid-like spirit instead of a fish. He yanks her completely out of the lake, sending her flying straight towards the shore, leaving Ling Chen absolutely stunned and wondering what the hell he just caught. This mermaid looks equally shocked as she comes soaring right at his face. This mermaid introduces herself as Senna, gratefully thanking him for the totally accidental rescue. But Ling Chen immediately shuts that down, clarifying he was just fishing, not playing the hero. She explains his bait helped her escape captivity, which just makes him ask if she ate it. Ling Chen is completely thrown off since he doesn't remember this side quest from the game at all, and that blindfolded quest giver pops back in to tell him this world has plenty of new surprises. Seeing an opportunity, Ling Chen immediately asks what kind of reward he's getting for this, his brilliant idea being for her to go back, return the bait, and catch his target for him. She apologetically explains that the lake is too dangerous and, well, the bait is already gone, but she gives him a heartfelt promise to repay his kindness someday in the future. That one day promise means nothing to him, so he just tells her to get lost. She seems surprised he wants nothing in return, preparing some kind of glowing power, and her method of repayment is to just lunge in and kiss him out of nowhere, leaving Ling Chen completely stunned by the sudden, very direct show of gratitude. He pushes her off, asking if she's not satisfied with the bait and wants to eat him too. Turns out that was her way of marking him, so now she can track him down anywhere. But before she leaves, she has just one more tiny request for our very patient hero, because her tail is turning into legs and she has absolutely nothing to wear on land. So she asks him for some clothes, putting Ling Chen in a very awkward position. Luckily, his item bag contains a perfectly normal school uniform, which should be enough for now. Dressed and ready to go, she promises once again to repay him for everything he's done. With his bait gone, Ling Chen is stuck trying to figure out a new way to complete his fishing quest. While elsewhere, a monstrous demon wolf with some gnarly claws bursts onto the scene looking for a fight. And this absolute unit comes crashing down on two unsuspecting travelers, an old man and a girl. This girl asks her companion what to do, and his brilliant plan is for her to run away immediately. Turns out he's panicking because this level 3 demon wolf is way outside its usual territory. So, resigned to his fate, the old man prepares to sacrifice himself so the girl can get away. But right before his heroic sacrifice, they spot Ling Chen casually observing the scene from a cliff above. And our boy, completely unfazed, is already wondering if he can tame this dog for himself. So with zero hesitation, he just leaps straight off the cliff, heading right for the beast. This old man mistakes this for flying, instantly assuming a level 4 master has arrived to save them. This demon wolf, however, is not the least bit intimidated by this display, immediately charging up a nasty-looking purple energy blast to greet its new guest. This old man then realizes Ling Chen isn't flying, he just jumped, and now thinks he's watching a suicide attempt. A massive purple explosion erupts as our boy meets the attack head-on, and shielded from the blast, the old man decides to use this stranger's sacrifice as their chance to escape. He even makes a solemn vow to come back for the body and give this heroic idiot a proper grave. Except Ling Chen is completely fine, just shaking out his legs and complaining the jump made them tingle, leaving the old man absolutely floored, stammering to ask if he's okay and where the giant monster went. Ling Chen just casually says he's fine and the wolf is too, pointing to a now-tamed blue-furred version behind him. This once ferocious beast is now a loyal pet, and Ling Chen tells it to take him to Kitayama. Ling Chen casually asks the old man if he's playing dead, offering to punch him awake, while his new pet wolf sits patiently, waiting for its master's next command. This beast then splits in two, basically offering itself up as a ride, a surprisingly eager expression on its face for a recently tamed demon. So Ling Chen just hops on and gives a casual farewell to the two stunned onlookers, announcing he's got places to be and can't stick around for autographs. With that, his new mount bolts off into the distance at lightning speed, leaving the old man and the girl to wonder if they just met some legendary master. Meanwhile, the demon wolf tears through the forest, heading straight for Kitayama, and Ling Chen confirms they've finally arrived at the right spot. Almost immediately, a winged divine beast appears, asking what a human wants with it. While a couple of birds gossip from a branch, surprised the great king is even talking to him. Ling Chen recognizes it as Piasa, a level 5 legendary beast with power over all other creatures. Piazza seems to appreciate the respect, demanding to know what business he has here. So our boy starts this galaxy brain argument about how tigers are just big cats. And since cats like fish, Piazza should totally help him with his fishing quest. This divine beast just stares, completely baffled by this line of reasoning, its face glowing with pure rage as it asks him to repeat that nonsense, roaring in his face, demanding to know if he's seriously asking a divine king to go fishing. And Ling Chen just stands there inside its massive jaws, not even flinching. Ling Chen casually offers to help, then immediately insults the divine beast's breath. Piazza's eye flares with crackling blue energy, its patience officially gone, sending all the local birds scattering in a panic from the sheer killing intent. This beast roars, absolutely furious that this human thinks he can get away with being so cocky. It hovers over Ling Chen, promising to turn his entire body into a pile of bones. Piazza lands, demanding to know if Ling Chen understands why it's the king of this mountain. Our boy just smirks, acting like he's already figured out its grand secret. With a roar, the beast lunges forward, unleashing a wave of sharp energy spikes. But Ling Chen meets the attack head-on with a glowing azure chi fist. He drives a solid uppercut straight into the divine beast's jaw, a perfect connection. This blow sends the massive creature flying backward, completely rocked by the impact. It lands hard, stunned that a filthy human was hiding this much power. Now glowing with a furious red aura, it declares that he's finally made it truly angry. Ling Chen, however, just holds up a broken fang he apparently just knocked out. He then asks if breaking its tooth helped it feel any better, a 5-star troll move. This divine king is left completely speechless, sweating with pure shock. It internally admits that the unbearable toothache it's had for ages is suddenly gone. Now terrified, it wonders if this level 4 master was actually sent here to kill it. A quick flash of a memory shows a massive demon demanding he stop the cheap tricks and fight. Back in the present, Ling Chen just sighs, asking one last time for help catching the Golden Fin King. Ling Chen lays out the simple deal. He fixed its tooth, so now it owes him a favor. This divine beast, surprisingly humbled, agrees to lend him its strength for the quest. With his new guide, Ling Chen heads off towards Izumoko Lake to finally catch his fish. But Piazza's got a look on its face that says this isn't just a friendly fishing trip. It leads him down a specific path through the forest, claiming it's a shortcut to the lake. And our boy immediately gets a bad feeling since this route is completely new to him. Just as he suspected, glowing thorny vines suddenly erupt from the ground. This magical thorns immediately wrap around his legs, stopping him dead in his tracks. He's then violently yanked off his feet, hoisted into the air by the ancient trap. Unfazed, Ling Chen just draws his sword, ready to slice his way to freedom. But Piazza reveals the betrayal, telling him resistance inside this ancient formation is futile. This beast demands his real motive, threatening to make him bug food if he doesn't talk. Ling Chen just scoffs, completely unimpressed by the trap or the empty threats. He internally calls on Fu, remembering he has a Super Formation Master title for this exact situation. Fu appears, smug as ever, explaining he can switch classes but his stats will drop hard. He complains about the restrictions, but she just reminds him that's how the grind works. Done with the lecture, Ling Chen just tells her to make the switch already. A surge of dark energy transforms the area as he activates his new class within the trap, giving him the power to manipulate formations, weaken enemies, or even create illusions. And every formation has a core, an eye, that, if destroyed, will bring the whole thing down. Piazza watches nervously as Ling Chen's new power surges, demanding to know what he's planning. But with his new senses, our boy has already located the formation's core and is ready to smash it. He unleashes a massive blast of energy from below, completely shattering the ancient trap, leaving him standing there without a scratch as the magical thorns wither into nothing. Just as the trap fades, however, he senses another presence has arrived on the scene. This newcomer, a winged woman, is relieved her hero wasn't caught, feeling she owes him for her freedom. Piazza, on the other hand, is completely stunned by her appearance, stammering that it's impossible. And she quickly steps in, asking Ling Chen to wait and clarifying if the giant beast is his enemy. Then the ferocious divine king suddenly leaps forward, crying out "Mother," like a lost puppy, but she is not having it, scolding her giant son for being pathetic when she's not even dead. While Piazza is overcome with emotion, Ling Chen is just trying to process the whole mother situation. She formally introduces herself as Garuda, apologizing for the embarrassing behavior of her foolish son. Ling Chen immediately recognizes that name as one of the 4 legendary divine beasts from the game's lore. Garuda explains she was sealed away for centuries, and it seems her son was broken in the process too, getting a little too friendly as she thanks her hero for saving her from an eternity of being trapped. Our boy notes he's never met her in-game, then asks why such a powerful being got sealed in the first place. She vaguely blames old age and powerful enemies, then asks what he desires as a reward. Ling Chen just stands there, with the now docile Piazza waiting patiently behind him for a decision, and the giant beast starts to wander off, probably thinking the conversation is over. But Garuda shuts that down with a glare, asking exactly who said it could move. This once mighty Piazza is now on the ground, begging his newly freed mother for forgiveness. And she just looks down on her giant divine son like he's a toddler who broke a vase. She then casually offers to turn the foolish child into soup for Ling Chen as a thank you gift. And our boy, trying not to look horrified, quickly turns down the cannibalism and reminds them about the fish. So Piazza, eager to please, immediately dives into the lake to get the job done, emerging moments later with the Golden Fin King clamped firmly in his jaws. Garuda promises to make him scour the entire lake if Ling Chen needs anything else, and the giant beast presents the fish like a golden retriever, super proud of his fishing skills. Ling Chen just takes the fish, confirming his ridiculously overcomplicated quest is finally over. Now he's just got to figure out if he's supposed to swallow the quest item raw, and with a grimace he pops the glowing orb right into his mouth. This taste is apparently awful, but Garuda is already asking what's next on the agenda. Ling Chen, trying to keep his lunch down, says he's got places to be and makes his exit, while Garuda gives him a warm farewell, telling him to call her if anything comes up. And with that, our boy just walks off, leaving the two divine beasts behind. Piazza immediately starts complaining, asking his mom why she's being so polite to a mere human. She then drops a bombshell on him. Ling Chen is only level 1. Her son is completely floored, thinking he must be hiding his true power. But she explains that his strength at level 1 is terrifyingly real, and he'll soon surpass them both. That's why she's decided to watch over him, believing he'll one day become their greatest strength. Garuda sends her son off with a final cryptic message about their lineage taking to the skies again. Meanwhile, Ling Chen arrives in a massive, unfamiliar city, ready for the next step of his quest. His first stop is a local shop, where the bill for some quest items comes out to a hefty 7,200 somi, and the friendly shopkeeper asks how he'll be paying, holding out a hand for the cash. But Ling Chen just balks at the price, clearly not expecting it to be that high for a few rocks. This immediately raises a red flag for the owner, who asks if our boy is actually broke. When the answer is yes, he gets unceremoniously booted from the store for wasting everyone's time. Ling Chen just whines on the street, complaining that the guy didn't have to be so loud about it. Just then, Fu appears, and he laments not bringing any money with him for this part. He grabs her, confirming he ate that disgusting fish liver just like she told him to, only for her to reveal he now needs a whole new shopping list of magical stones. And she just smugly reminds him that's the nature of the grind, so he better get used to it. Ling Chen sighs, figuring he can find most of the stones, but the sacred dew stone sounds like a pain. So he wanders through the city's marketplace, on the hunt for his next set of ingredients. His search leads him to a fortune teller's stall, which seems like a promising lead. A sign out front explains she only offers 3 readings a day and only to those with a destined connection. Inside, the fortune teller, Rita, waits patiently for one of these destined customers to show up. A cocky-looking guy steps in first, demanding she give him a reading right now. But she flatly refuses, telling him it's impossible since they have no connection whatsoever. He just flashes a bag of gold, insisting she do it anyway because he's counting on her. Rita just stares blankly for a second, processing the bag of gold, then immediately changes her tune, deciding they have a destined connection after all. With the money now on her table, she eagerly asks what he wants her to divine. Back outside, Ling Chen is watching all this unfold, and a terrible idea starts to form. He figures if fortune-telling is this lucrative, he might as well get a piece of the action. So, in the middle of the crowded city streets, our boy decides to set up his own shop. He even puts up a sign promising no rip-offs, which is just pure, unadulterated hypocrisy. This stunt immediately catches the eye of Rita, who is not at all amused by the new competition. She marches right over and slams her hand on his table, ready for a confrontation, accusing him of trying to start a turf war by stealing her business model. Ling Chen just smirks, pointing out that, unlike her, he doesn't have any silly connection restrictions. She is completely unimpressed, telling him she really doesn't like his style. So she proposes they settle this like professionals, a fortune-telling duel where the winner stays. She gets right in his face, making the challenge intensely personal and lays down the stakes. The loser has to pack up and leave town for good. Our boy just scoffs at the idea of a fortune-teller's pride, admitting he has none, but since he desperately needs the money, he'll gladly accept her challenge. With a confident grin, she declares that the showdown is officially on. Just then, a massive, regal woman appears, announcing the start of the city's first-ever fortune-telling contest. She poses the first question: what color will the next person to cross the intersection be wearing? Rita makes her call with purple, but Ling Chen just counters with a confident yellow. At that exact moment, a woman in a witch's outfit appears on the empty street, and the judge declares them both correct, since she's wearing a mix of both colors. Rita gets flustered, claiming she was too hasty, but our boy is just enjoying her panic. Without missing a beat, the judge moves to round 2. Predict the next person's hairstyle. His opponent goes with short hair, but Ling Chen, ever the troll, just says bald. When a bald guy shows up, the judge is completely stumped on how to even score that one. So she just skips to the final tie-breaking question: predict the weather until evening. Rita gets serious, pulling out her crystal ball to make her final divination. And she confidently declares it'll be sunny all day without a single cloud in the sky. Ling Chen, however, just gives a one-word rebuttal: nope. He calmly informs her that a massive downpour is on its way, much to her disbelief. And right on cue, a massive bolt of lightning rips through the clear sky, instantly plunging the entire city into a sudden torrential rainstorm. This clear day is completely gone, replaced by a dark and stormy evening. Completely stunned by the impossible turn of events, Rita can only admit that she's lost. Ling Chen just smirks, revealing he's not just any fortune teller, he's a super astrologer. Turns out he switched classes again, this time to one that's perfect for this little duel. He explains that while a fortune teller predicts, an astrologer can literally change the future, even the weather. Of course, he internally thanks Fu for rigging the contest with a weather question he could actually control. Rita accepts her defeat with surprising grace, agreeing to pack up and leave town. But Ling Chen isn't quite done with her, eyeing her crystal ball with a greedy smirk. As a parting gift, she offers him the very tool of her trade, her personal crystal ball, and our boy puts on his best "oh, for me" face, acting like this wasn't his plan all along. Then she hits him with the price tag 5,000 somi, and his jaw just about hits the floor. She explains that since she's out of a job, she needs the cash, and he clearly needs the gear. Ling Chen immediately starts haggling, claiming he can't possibly pay more than 2,000. To his surprise, she instantly agrees, snatching the coins right out of his hand. And then she leans in close, planting a surprise kiss right on his cheek, calling it a special bonus for the winning fortune-telling teacher. He's completely flustered by the move, asking what she means by teacher and private lessons. Our boy just smirks back, coolly reminding her he never agreed to teach her a thing. She just gives him a mysterious smile and a wave, wishing him luck as she departs into the rain. He watches her go, deciding she's a weirdo, but now it's finally time to make some real money. With his new crystal ball, he's officially open for business, and his first customers arrive. Unfortunately, it's a local gang, and their leader orders his men to surround the funny. Ling Chen just gives them a deadpan stare, asking if they've got the right guy. This gang leader explains that Rita showed up about a week ago, making a name for herself, and her skills were so impressive she even caught the attention of a local lord. Turns out this lord paid her a massive advance for her services, and now they're here to collect. This goon explains that after Rita got paid, she said the problem was too complex for anyone but her teacher, and then she just vanished, leaving their lord's condition to get even worse. Ling Chen just shrugs, telling them to go find this so-called teacher instead of bothering him. But then the word teacher clicks, and he realizes what that kiss was really about, because the gang leader points right at him, confirming he's the master she was talking about. Our boy is absolutely floored, realizing Rita didn't just leave town. She left him holding the bag. So now he has two choices: return the massive advance payment or solve the Lord's problem himself. Just then, a noblewoman appears, and Ling Chen smirks, saying there's really only one option here. She tells him she'll see him there and just walks off, leaving him completely baffled. He tries to yell after her, but the gang leader isn't about to let him just stroll away. With a single command, his goons draw their swords and charge right at our boy. Ling Chen immediately books it, sprinting through the city streets with a mob on his tail. He nimbly leaps over their heads, dodging their clumsy sword swings with ease. Admitting his physical stats as an astrologer aren't great, but he's more than fast enough to run. This chase continues as he parkours his way through the pristine white city, all while complaining internally that his body is way too fragile for this kind of action. He knows he can't get caught, so he pushes forward, trying to find an escape route. And in his panic, he blindly reaches out to stop his fall, grabbing onto the first thing he can find. That thing turns out to be a woman he just crashed into, getting a full face of. Plot. This collision sends them both tumbling to the ground in a spectacularly awkward pose. A mysterious masked woman appears, calling him clumsy as always, and the girl he crashed into stands over him, smugly declaring he's not getting away. She leans in close, clearly recognizing him from some past encounter. Turns out it's a girl he's met before, and she's wondering what he's doing here. Suddenly, they're in a fancy room where the woman, Rin, explains to the gang that Ling Chen saved her. She's still incredibly grateful for his help back then, but our boy just plays it cool. He introduces himself with an alias, finally putting a name to the face she remembers. Rin's companion, a man from the Chamber of Commerce, tells the captain it's all a misunderstanding. This Captain Sieg could not care less, insisting he's taking Ling Chen to his lord today. This earns him a very pointed, unimpressed stare from the Chamber of Commerce representative, but the captain stands his ground, flanked by his personal guard and ready for a fight. Unfortunately for him, the Chamber of Commerce brought its own muscle to this little meeting. Sieg demands to know why they're going to such lengths to protect some random outsider. Because he's a valued customer, and the chamber guy dares him to make a move against them. He then smoothly pivots, asking what exactly Sieg wants them to do about the Lord's problem. This question is loaded, basically putting the entire situation back on the captain's shoulders. So he proposes a deal. Ling Chen will go solve the Lord's problem, since he's involved now. This catch is, if our boy succeeds, the captain's lord has to reward him handsomely. Hearing the magic word paid, Ling Chen's greed kicks in and he instantly accepts the quest. His next destination is set, a massive, ominous castle looming under the night sky. Sieg leads Ling Chen into a grand hall, announcing he's brought the master to Lord Broth. And the lord himself is a massive, tattooed man lounging on a throne like a barbarian king. This captain immediately warns him that everything he's about to witness is top secret, leaving our boy wondering what kind of fresh hell he's just walked into. Sieg nervously begins to explain the lord's very delicate medical situation, and the big reveal is that this giant of a man is apparently pregnant. Ling Chen's brain completely short-circuits at this absolutely impossible diagnosis. He can't help but shout, demanding to know what is actually going on here. Turns out, they believe the whole thing is caused by an evil spirit haunting the mansion. This finally clicks for Ling Chen, since his astrologer class can also handle exorcisms. Just then, a small boy runs up to the Lord, calling him Mom with tears in his eyes. This Lord gently reassures his son, trying to put on a brave face for the kid. But the boy is terrified, revealing he's already lost his little brother to this curse. Overcome with emotion, the Lord worries about what will happen to his adopted son if he dies. Ling Chen, completely over the waterworks, just tells them to point him to the ghost. Sieg leads him to a dark passage, explaining the evil spirit is located deep underground. They'd already hired a so-called grandmaster from another country to handle the problem. And down below, a team is already at work, with Ling Chen's job being to assist them. He immediately starts critiquing their methods, worried about them suffocating in the enclosed space. With a confident sigh, he decides this whole job is going to be a piece of cake. This so-called grandmaster is already mid-ritual, yelling at Ling Chen to stay back and not interfere. And this guy, Bon, threatens to hold him responsible if he messes up the exorcism. Sieg tries to smooth things over, telling Grandmaster Bon that Ling Chen is just here to assist. But Bon's incredibly smug assistant tells our boy to just relax, since the master can handle it alone. Ling Chen just shrugs, saying he couldn't care less as long as the paycheck clears. Meanwhile, Bon gets to work, summoning golden chains to bind the red-haired evil spirit, and with a dramatic flourish, he calls forth a massive golden weapon called the Holy Cross. leaving his fanboy assistant absolutely losing his mind over how amazing his master is. Bond confidently orders the spirit to be purified, expecting this to be a one-shot kill, and the massive cross slams down onto the chained demon, bathing her in holy light, causing her to shriek in agony as the purification ritual seems to be working perfectly. Bond smirks, completely convinced that a single attack was enough to finish the job. Except the spirit is now standing right in front of him, completely unharmed and very, very annoyed. His smug confidence instantly evaporates, replaced by pure, unadulterated panic. Stunned that she's still standing, he desperately tries to summon the cross for another strike, only for the demon to casually stop the massive holy weapon with a single hand. She lunges forward, and Bond finally realizes he's picked a fight way out of his league. From the sidelines, Ling Chen casually informs the assistant that his master is about to die, which causes the assistant to absolutely lose it, screaming that Ling Chen has no idea how amazing Bond is. Ling Chen internally notes that Bond burned his own soul for that one attack and is now completely out of gas. This assistant gets right in Ling Chen's face, absolutely furious at the disrespect. But our boy's eye flashes red, and he coldly tells the guy to get his hands off him. A wave of pure pressure hits the fanboy, who starts sweating bullets, unable to move a muscle. He tries to keep up the tough act, stammering about his master's decades of experience. Just as said master gets absolutely launched across the cavern by the demon. This assistant can only scream in horror as his idol gets completely ragdolled. He catches Bond's limp body, realizing his hero just got one-shotted. Meanwhile, the demon just gives them the most smug, self-satisfied smile imaginable. With the Grandmaster down for the count, the rest of the team is left in total despair. Sieg grabs Ling Chen's arm, desperately asking if there's any way out of this mess. Ling Chen just studies a bit of holy flame, wondering if he can replicate that cross attack. Bond, barely conscious, warns him not to be reckless, offering to make an escape route instead. Our boy just smirks back, saying just because the master failed doesn't mean he will. This leaves the so-called expert completely speechless at his audacity. Then Ling Chen summons not one but an entire circle of golden holy crosses. Bond and his assistant just stare in disbelief, unable to process what's happening. This holy weapons converge on the demon, flying at her from all sides, and this time she actually cries out in pain as the light tears into her. She's absolutely furious, unleashing a shockwave of demonic energy in retaliation. This blast sends the other two flying, but the demon is still standing, ready for round two. Ling Chen just tells her to stop screeching and get to the point already. This demon struggles against the light, calling him an arrogant human for his trouble. But she manages to break free, admitting he's surprisingly good with holy magic. She taunts him, guessing that big attack must have drained every last bit of his power. Except more holy weapons just keep appearing right above her head, proving her very, very wrong. Her smug expression completely vanishes, replaced with a look of genuine shock. Ling Chen just smirks, sarcastically confirming that yes, he's totally out of strength, as he casually summons another dozen or so weapons just to make a point. And just like that, her tough girl act shatters, and she immediately surrenders, begging him to stop. Our boy is unimpressed, saying he preferred her defiance before demanding to know why she's targeting the Lord. She explains she wasn't trying to hurt anyone, she was just trying to help that child. This gets Ling Chen's attention, and he asks her what child she's talking about. This demon looks a little flustered, trying to find the right words to explain the situation. Turns out, the spirit of a little boy had appeared in the mansion some time ago. This boy had died, and his final wish was just to spend more time with his father, Lord Broff. So, to grant that wish, she turned the boy's soul into a spiritual fetus inside the Lord. Ling Chen immediately calls her out, asking if she ever considered this would kill the guy. She admits she hadn't thought that far ahead, insisting her intentions were pure. He internally confirms she's telling the truth, since he can't sense any malice or bloodlust from her. So he agrees not to kill her, but he's going back to the Lord to verify her story. Sieg is waiting at the top of the stairs, asking if the master has sorted everything out, and Ling Chen casually strolls up, telling him the evil spirit is no longer a problem. But the captain spots the demon right behind him, frantically trying to warn him she's still there. She just flashes a very sharp-toothed grin, saying she's not intimidated in the slightest. This immediately sends Sieg into a cold sweat, his tough guy act completely shattered. Back in the throne room, it's time to finally explain this whole mess to the Lord. This demon calls out to the spirit inside Brof, revealing the boy's name was Toby. Ling Chen explains the spirit is draining the Lord's life force and prepares to extract him. With a single touch, the Lord's massive belly deflates back to its normal size. Cured Bro begs our boy to find out what his son's final message for him was. But Ling Chen, clutching his payment, says his job is done and he's got other things to do. This lord then happens to mention that Toby was meant to become a user of sacred crystals. And that little tidbit immediately gets Ling Chen's full, undivided, and very greedy attention. Elsewhere in town, a new blindfolded woman is absolutely loving the local food. Rin catches up to Ling Chen, getting a bit handsy while asking him to stay longer. He brushes her off, explaining he got a lead on those sacred crystals and has to leave. So she hands him the crystals he wanted, plus a bag with 3,000 gold coins as a thank you. Ling Chen's brain glitches, realizing he was quoted almost triple the price for the same items. Rin just smiles, reminding him that merchants are always out for a profit and offering her help. She then gets real close, promising she'll make sure he never gets ripped off again. Rin's butler advises Ling Chen to run all future business through her, since she's the local expert. Our boy is already calculating the massive savings he'll get with his new, very attractive business partner. Rin gets a little emotional, asking him to promise he'll come back to her safely. He gives her the classic can't promise safe line, but assures her he'll definitely be back. Meanwhile, the blindfolded woman he picked up is still just trying to enjoy her snack. Ling Chen just grabs her and starts dragging her off, ignoring her protests about unfinished food. And just like that, he's off on his next adventure, leaving Rin to watch him go. Her butler asks why she let him leave, pointing out she has more than enough wealth to keep him satisfied. She explains that a guy like him can't be tied down. He's a world traveler. So her new goal in life is to become so successful she can be his ultimate sponsor. Later that night, they arrive at a fancy-looking mansion to rest up for the journey. He tells his companion they're crashing here for the night since the next town is too far. He casually asks if she's going to wash up, but she's already making herself at home on the bed. She just rolls over and says she's going straight to sleep, no bath required. As he turns to leave, Ling Chen suddenly notices a distinct, unnatural chill in the air. His expression hardens as he realizes something is definitely not right with this room. And standing in the doorway is the red-haired demon, greeting him like an old friend. She cheekily offers some complimentary room service, getting way too close for comfort. This immediately earns her a massive tick mark on Ling Chen's forehead, who just lets out a long, suffering sigh, completely done with this situation already. She leans in, offering to help him with his bath too, which earns her a swift kick right out the door. Landing on her feet, she tells him there's no need to be so cold about it, claiming she even prepared all sorts of special things for her new master. Just then, some random dude with elf ears pops his head in, asking if he can get in on that room service. This demon gives him a look that could curdle milk, sending the poor guy into a full-blown panic, and he bolts down the hall, screaming about a ghost, leaving everyone else completely baffled. Now wearing a blindfold herself, she innocently asks where the ghost went. So Ling Chen, done with the games, just shoves her into the room. Not that she minds. He finally asks her straight up why she's been following him around. Meanwhile, his actual companion is completely passed out on the bed, dead to the world. This demon, now named Vivian, decides it's time for a dramatic backstory to explain everything, launching into a sob story about her tragic past until Ling Chen just tells her to get on with it. Turns out, she's tired of being a disembodied soul and wants his help rebuilding her body. He asks what she expects him to do, and she promises to belong to him forever if he helps. Our boy actually seems to be considering this very tempting, very demonic offer, but explains that reconstructing a body requires a level 5 astrologer, and he's just a level 1 newbie. This information completely short-circuits her brain, level 1. His blindfolded companion just snoozes on, completely unaware of the bombshell he just dropped. Vivian gets right back in his face, struggling to believe he took her down while being a total beginner. Vivian, completely unfazed, just pledges her soul to him, confident he'll reach level 4 eventually. Ling Chen gives her a cold reminder that this deal puts her life and death entirely in his hands. She just smirks, saying she was prepared for that from the start before offering up her soul. A ball of purple energy, her very essence, floats right into Ling Chen's waiting hand. He absorbs it, officially sealing the pact to help her once he's strong enough to do so. But of course, our boy has one little condition of his own before they get started. She immediately starts undressing, completely misinterpreting what kind of condition he had in mind. Turns out, she just wanted to offer some unique ghost services, since she's new to the whole disembodied thing. He's so done with this, he just shortens her name to Vivi and tells her to go scout a rival clan. This new nickname seems to catch her completely off guard, leaving her a blushing mess. His first order is to check on the Tatsumi house with a very strict "don't scare my family" rule. Vivi is still stuck on the whole personal service angle, insisting that sharing his bed is part of her duty, which earns her a swift knee to the gut, sending her flying right off the bed. This commotion wakes up his blindfolded companion, Fu, who is absolutely livid about the interruption. Fu radiates pure murderous intent, promising a world of pain for being woken up so rudely. This next morning, they finally arrive at a massive estate, their next destination in sight. Ling Chen struggles with the map he was given, complaining that it's practically unreadable. Nearby, some knight in shining armor is hitting on a woman, introducing himself as Weiner. This guy is laying it on thick, bragging about his family's estate and his clean lifestyle. He then gets way too handsy with the girl Tina, clearly not a fan of personal space. Ling Chen considers asking the knight for directions, since his own map is useless. But his tiny companion, Fu, is way more interested in getting him to buy her snacks. He immediately shuts that down, reminding her that finding the sacred crystals comes first. Fu just throws a tantrum on his head, whining about needing nutrition because she's growing. Back with the knight, Weiner is still trying to charm the girl, asking about her interests. He then delivers the world's creepiest pickup line about how owning her would drive him wild. Ling Chen wisely decides to find someone else, not wanting to interrupt this masterclass in romance. This moment he turns away, however, Weiner feels a sudden intense pressure out of nowhere. This girl asks what's wrong, but he can only describe it as an overwhelming, eerie force. It dawns on him that the pressure only appeared after he let go of the woman's hand, which is exactly when Ling Chen walked off, casually holding the tiny source of that power. Completely spooked, Weiner makes a lame excuse and ditches his date on the spot. A little later, Ling Chen is just trying to relax while Fu floats around, still talking about food. Naturally, that's when Weiner tracks them down, demanding a moment of their time. He gets right in Ling Chen's face, accusing him of staring at him intently before. Our boy puts two and two together, realizing this guy thinks he ruined his pickup attempt. He tries to play it cool, saying he was just going to ask for directions, but figured it out. Weiner is not buying that for a second, calling it the worst excuse he's ever heard. His eyes flare with power, ready to start a fight over the perceived slight, and he unleashes a powerful energy beam straight at Ling Chen's chest. Ling Chen casually deflects the energy blast with a flick of his dagger, barely even moving, leaving Wiener completely stunned that a random bystander could have that kind of power. Our boy is just as confused, wondering why a simple swat of his blade caused such a fuss. But Wiener has already decided he's a shadow hunter sent to capture him. And at that moment, the girl he was hitting on shows up, asking what's going on. She's not scared at all, instead seeing this whole dramatic showdown as a golden opportunity. Ling Chen tries to de-escalate, insisting it's all a misunderstanding over asking for directions. Wiener isn't having it, suddenly screaming about his intense love for women's hands. This leaves Ling Chen utterly baffled, with no clue what this psycho is even talking about. This creep then grabs Ling Chen's arm, holding it up for some bizarre demonstration, and confesses he loves hands so much he literally cuts them off to carry around. Ling Chen's expression just screams, "I am so done with this town and its people." Even the girl is horrified, finally realizing she was trying to get with a total pervert. Now that his secret's out, Wiener declares he can't possibly let either of them escape alive. Ling Chen just points out that nobody even asked. He's the one who started oversharing. Ignoring that solid point, the knight lunges forward, throwing a superpowered punch, but Ling Chen activates his golden scale armor, creating a swirling shield of fire to block it. Wiener's fist smashes right into the blazing defense with a massive impact, and the resulting shockwave surges back up his arm, causing him immense pain. This shield then erupts in a huge explosion, with Ling Chen standing calmly in the middle of it all. With the fight over, Ling Chen decides he'd better bury what's left of the guy to avoid any awkward questions. So he just grabs a shovel and starts digging a shallow grave for the hand-obsessed knight. This girl, Tina, quickly offers to be his witness, pointing out that the creep definitely started it. This whole encounter sends her into a spiral, wondering if she's just doomed to attract absolute weirdos. She starts venting to Ling Chen about her terrible luck, comparing this guy to another psycho from last week. Overwhelmed by it all, she just throws herself into his arms, lamenting her tragic dating history. Our boy, naturally, just sports a smug little grin, not exactly complaining about the situation. And just like that, he's got a new travel companion as Tina joins him and Fu on the road. Later, Ling Chen realizes absorbing Vivi's soul must have given his golden scale armor a serious power-up. Fu immediately pops in to take all the credit, bragging about the amazing items she gave him. Their journey finally leads them to a massive opulent estate, the Manhwa Manor. Standing guard outside is a trio of powerful-looking individuals, clearly expecting trouble. Ling Chen walks forward to meet them, with the guards watching his every move intently. He can sense their powerful auras, confirming that the owner of this place is a big deal. Meanwhile, Tina decides it's probably smarter to hang back and hide in the shadows for a bit. She steps out from behind a pillar a moment later, catching Ling Chen completely off guard, who just smirks, greeting his disciple and asking what she's doing here. Fu immediately recognizes her, calling her the braided hair witch who tricked her before. This head guard, a man with a very impressive mustache, watches this whole exchange with suspicion. He notes that Ling Chen's age and hair color are a perfect match for a description he was given. This head guard immediately orders his crew to capture Fu, pointing her out as the target, but his goons instantly swarm Ling Chen instead, pinning him down in a flurry of attacks. Our boy is completely baffled by the sudden assault, having no idea what's going on. As the mustached man leaps down, staff ready to strike him down personally. One of the guards screams that Minars will finally face judgment, confirming the mistaken identity. So Ling Chen tries to explain he's also looking for this Minars guy, but they're not listening. Fu pops up to helpfully explain that her master just has a naturally villainous-looking face, which doesn't help when the guard accuses him of being a child-snatching criminal on the run. Fu then decides to play along, telling Ling Chen to stop resisting because they have all the evidence, and the head guard completely falls for it, promising the little lady she's safe now. That's her cue to unleash a massive blast of divine punishment right in their faces, which sends the mustached man reeling back in absolute shock and pain. Turns out she was just deeply offended at being called a little lady, since she's a full-grown adult. She then strikes a pose admiring her own dynamite body while basking in the chaos she created, leaving the silver-haired guard completely speechless by this sudden betrayal and display of power. His shock is cut short by a swift blow to the head that knocks him out cold on the spot, and the female guard steps up, telling her fallen comrade she'll make his end quick. Her eyes glow as she admits she loves the sound of crushing criminals, another total psycho. Having seen enough of this three-ring circus, Ling Chen finally decides to step in himself, catching the woman completely off guard as he closes the distance in a flash. With his blade at her throat, Ling Chen calmly informs the psycho guard that this is the end of the line, dropping her to the ground while pointing out that being loud doesn't actually win you fights. And a moment later, he's explaining the whole chaotic misunderstanding to a very confused Tina. She asks if they're all good now, but Ling Chen just smirks and tells her to return the money first. This mustache guard finally steps in, admitting his team might have jumped to a few conclusions, and introduces himself as Leto, leader of the Shadow Hunters, ready to explain the real situation. Turns out their actual target is a former priest named Manars, who's now linked to a string of disappearances. Leto clarifies they only attacked because one of the victims looked exactly like Fu, which earns him a death glare from Fu, who threatens another blast for the disrespect. He quickly adds that the Duke himself sent them, and the two goons Ling Chen beat are his top agents. This female guard then smugly explains her simple reason for joining the Shadow Hunters, which is that she gets to legally beat guilty criminals to death, a perk she clearly enjoys. Her silver-haired partner chimes in, claiming his noble cause is to protect all lovely ladies. but she immediately calls him out for having zero interest when the victims were grown women. He then proudly declares that any girl over 14 isn't a lady anyway, just as a matter of fact. She fires back, calling him a gross freak, while he says that's still better than being a sadist. Ling Chen just watches this disaster unfold, realizing this entire elite squad is just a bunch of weirdos. He cuts them off, saying he couldn't care less and is just here for the sacred crystals. Impressed by his power, Leto asks if he'd be willing to help them out when Minars finally shows up. This silver-haired creep has to begrudgingly agree, admitting Ling Chen is the real deal since he beat him. This female guard absolutely lays into her partner for getting knocked out by his own perverted excitement. Tired of the bickering, Ling Chen finally caves and just agrees to help them out. Leto is thrilled by this, declaring they'll all head out to investigate the disappearances together. And so the newly formed team of weirdos and one sane person head towards their destination. Suddenly, Tina pops up behind Ling Chen, reminding him of a conversation they were having, and explains her whole damsel in distress act was just a ploy to get him to come here. It was all part of her plan, which she whispers worked out just fine now that the creep is gone. Ling Chen is floored, realizing she's been playing him this entire time. Smugly, she confirms she knew what would happen because she can read the signs. Tina then brags that her fortune-telling skills are top-notch, even if she's a bit clumsy. Back in the present, Ling Chen tells her to return what she owes after they get the crystals. In response, she just scoffs, clearly having no intention of making things easy for him. A little later, the shadow hunters finally enter a dark cave, hot on Minar's trail. Leto and his partner stop, hearing what sounds like voices coming from deeper inside. This silver-haired agent suddenly spots someone, pointing them out with way too much enthusiasm. They find a white-haired individual standing amidst a field of ominous red crystals. This female agent immediately assumes this is one of the people Menars has captured. Her partner instantly switches into his white knight persona, promising the lady she's safe now. He charges in with his shield raised, vowing to protect her and lead her to paradise. But the victim, now sporting horns, just looks incredibly annoyed by this whole interruption. Turns out the damsel in distress is actually a blood-soaked monster with a mouthful of daggers, while the silver-haired creep is still mid-charge, completely oblivious he's saving a demon, which immediately tackles him to the ground, cackling as the knight finally realizes his mistake. His partner can only watch in disbelief, wondering how her teammate could be this much of an idiot. But the monster girl isn't done, forming a massive crystal blade from her own arm. And while pinning the knight, she fires a volley of shards that nail the female guard. Before anyone can react, she unleashes a massive energy blast from point-blank range, prompting Leto to identify it as a Crimson Core marionette and scream at his partner to kill it. But the creep just can't bring himself to harm a child, a fatal case of misplaced chivalry. This marionette, however, has zero such reservations and lunges in for the kill with a spear, bringing her weapon down for the final blow, only for it to be blocked at the last second. Not by the guards, but by Ling Chen, who's finally decided to step in himself. He effortlessly parries the attack, looking completely unimpressed by the whole situation. And with a single fluid motion, he shatters her crystal form, sending the monster flying. Ling Chen just casually asks Leto if it was okay to kill her, leaving the guard totally speechless. Leto is just trying to process the dark arts involved, wondering what the point of it all was. Then turns to the others, suggesting this whole situation might be bigger than they thought. Sometime later, the group finds themselves in what looks like a hidden archive room, where Leto discovers a book linking these events to an old dark cult and its apostle, Moray. A woman with them explains the cult sacrificed people to create cursed crystals for power. This woman explains this Moray guy was a walking disaster, single-handedly causing thousands of deaths. Legend says he fought the entire empire, killed their commander, and then just vanished without a trace. Leto suddenly connects the dots while reading, realizing what they're truly up against now. This book says the cult refined their dark arts using a special individual to boost crystal conversion, and Ling Chen correctly guesses that individual is just a fancy word for a child. While everyone else is processing this grim news, Tina points out a suspiciously well-kept closet. Leto immediately starts panicking, saying if Moray is involved, they need to bail immediately. He even admits his elite squad is completely out of their league against this level of dark magic. Ling Chen, completely unfazed, just walks over and opens the closet because why not? What he finds inside leaves even him a little surprised for a split second. Leto absolutely loses it, screaming that this is definitely Moray's handiwork. Turns out the closet is a gruesome trophy room filled with jars of preserved body parts. This mustached guard is now begging Ling Chen to retreat, insisting this is way over their heads. But our boy just calmly asks a very important question. Has anyone actually seen this guy's face? Leto is just baffled, having no idea where Ling Chen is going with this line of thought. Ling Chen then strikes a pose, casually suggesting maybe their legendary villain is already in the ground. And just like that, they're all staring down at the shallow grave of the hand fetish knight from before. Leto confirms the face matches the 20-year-old wanted posters. It's actually him, the Apostle Moray. Completely stunned, he asks Ling Chen how in the world he knew the body was right here. Ling Chen just grins, spinning a wild tale about how the guy attacked him and then just exploded. Leto can't quite wrap his head around the he just exploded story, but Ling Chen just confirms it with a grin. Later, a woman with glasses hands over the sacred crystals, but Ling Chen is immediately suspicious of a catch. He examines the crystal, confirming that these are, in fact, the genuine article. and the woman cheekily introduces herself as his faithful disciple, offering them as a gift. Lido then starts gushing, calling him Lord Kyo and saying he saved the entire nation from that monster. Ling Chen just takes a sip, reminding everyone the crystals were technically his in the first place. Then gives her a look, pointing out this gift doesn't even begin to cover what he's owed. Realizing she's been cornered, the woman makes a swift exit right through the nearest window and gives a peace sign, claiming she just remembered she has to help with a donkey birth. Ling Chen can only watch her flee, noting that she's surprisingly fast for a con artist. With that mess sorted, Leto promises Ling Chen a proper reward once they confirm the corpse's identity. Meanwhile, the silver-haired creep is back to his usual drama, mourning all the lovely ladies lost. Fu, on the other hand, is just thrilled she gets to eat this entire feast all by herself. Just then, a woman in a crowned nun's habit walks through the city, drawing Ling Chen's attention. She enters the room and introduces herself as Fion, the area's marshal, addressing him as Tatsumi Kyo. Her first order of business is to inform Ling Chen that he's now a suspect in a murder case. Apparently, a woman was found brutally murdered just 2 hours ago, and he was the last one seen with her. With her heart ripped out, Ling Chen realizes the victim is the same woman he met just last week. She orders him in for questioning, but Ling Chen just tells her to ask the Shadowhunters for his alibi. This marshal isn't having it, shutting him down and insisting that when she says come, he comes. She clarifies that the Shadowhunters are just a private squad. She's an imperial marshal, way higher up the food chain. Ling Chen is completely over it, repeating that he's innocent and doesn't have time for her games. He then gives her a look, asking if she honestly believes she has what it takes to stop him. But a second later, he's suddenly floating, completely baffled by what's happening to his body. As Feon effortlessly lifts him into the air with one hand, a smug look on her face, she flips him upside down, declaring that once she set her sights on a criminal, they never escape. And with a massive crash, she slams him straight into the floor, a little overkill for an arrest. Our boy is just stunned, trying to figure out what kind of insane power she's even using. With her foot on his chest, she lists his charges: murder, disturbing the peace, you name it, then officially places him under arrest with a very self-satisfied expression. A little later, Ling Chen is tied up in an interrogation room, looking less than thrilled. Feon leans in, warning him that if he doesn't start talking, he's never leaving this place. He just repeats his alibi, telling her for the 10th time to just go ask the damn Shadowhunters. She gets way too close for comfort, teasingly asking if he's just trying to find an excuse to stay with her. Ling Chen is visibly sweating, clearly not a fan of this particular interrogation tactic. Suddenly, his legs feel impossibly heavy, as if they're being crushed by an invisible weight. And Feon promises she has ways of making him submit completely, her aura flaring up. He finally puts it together. She's using some form of telekinesis to manipulate weight. A voice in his head even mocks him for taking so long to figure out how she lifted him earlier. Now she just stands over him, telling him to be a good boy and spill all his secrets. Feon smugly tells him his knees are about to give out under the immense pressure. But her interrogation is cut short when an official at the door orders her to release him. It's Leto's mustached partner, who seems way too cheerful about interrupting an imperial marshal. With her authority challenged, Feon lets Ling Chen go, promising to train him properly next time, and Ling Chen just smirks back, saying he's actually looking forward to their next encounter. That simple comeback somehow leaves the all-powerful marshal completely flustered and blushing, who is now sweating and wondering what in the world is happening to her, because suddenly she can't move, frozen in midair by an invisible force. Turns out Ling Chen didn't just endure her trick, he learned it and is now using it on her. She's left floating helplessly as he casually walks out the door, a perfect reversal. This marshal is absolutely mortified, having been beaten at her own game so easily. And to make matters worse, she's also weirdly enjoying the humiliation, which is a whole other issue. Later, at what looks like the Imperial headquarters, the situation is being sorted out. Feon is still fuming, demanding to know why her suspect was suddenly released from custody. This official explains that someone posted an absolutely massive bail for Tatsumi Kyo. He reminds her that this mysterious benefactor also happens to fund half their entire budget. But Feon is still not having it, clearly annoyed that money trumps her authority. This official clarifies there's another reason. New evidence came in from a special device. This results from their high-tech lie detector proved the key witness was lying through their teeth. So the testimony claiming Ling Chen was the last person seen with the victim was a total fabrication. This official then points out Feon is sweating an unusual amount, completely missing the point. And she just tries to play it cool, still flustered from getting so thoroughly outplayed by Ling Chen, internally fuming that she had to endure such a humiliating psychic counterattack from him. So, she turns her attention to the real problem, the guy who gave the false testimony in the first place. And with a very unsettling smile, she announces it's time for her own brand of enjoyable interrogation, which has the poor sap absolutely terrified as her telekinetic power flares to life. Meanwhile, Ling Chen is already outside the Imperial headquarters, completely free and clear, where a woman in a pink jacket calls out to him, relieved that he's finally been released. This is Amioto, and she cheekily asks if he appreciated her negotiating his bail with the sheriff. But Ling Chen just wants to know how she found him, and she says she had urgent news. She gets serious, explaining that according to a merchant, a battle has just broken out in a northern town, which immediately gets Ling Chen's full attention, his red eye glowing with intensity. Amioto elaborates that the Higashi family has attacked the Tatsumi family, and the town is now on lockdown, prompting Ling Chen to realize the Izumi family must have been planning this for some time. He thanks her for the intel and immediately decides to head back to his town to deal with it. But a blindfolded woman in blue suddenly appears, insisting she's coming with him to help. Amioto is one step ahead, offering him an armored horse she claims is the fastest in the merchant guild, and Ling Chen can't help but be impressed that she's got everything prepared for him. Before leaving, he asks her to pass a message to a man named Burrow about his adopted son's peaceful passing. And with that somber duty done, he rides off at full speed, kicking up dust as he races to the fight. Amioto is just happy she could help, but the blindfolded woman still can't see what's so great about her brother. Unfortunately, she realizes a second too late that Ling Chen has already bolted without her. Meanwhile, at the Higashi family's grand headquarters, the enemy is making their move. This white-haired commander surveys the bodies, confirming his three-pronged attack was a success. He then orders a subordinate to find a way to delay Ling Chen, who they know is on his way. Another leader smirks, adding that he's already sent forces to trap some fat old hag on a mountain. Turns out his troops have cornered two of Ling Chen's allies, a guy with a red streak and a silver-haired woman. This guy seems a bit panicked, asking his partner Toki what their next move should be. Then he gets an idea, deciding it's the perfect time to test out his master's divine charm arts. This enemy goons just laugh, daring him to try and making some predictably sleazy offers. Toki, on the other hand, is radiating pure, unadulterated murderous intent. Back with the white-haired commander, he's ordering his men to wipe out the last of the resistance. At that exact moment, a red-haired woman with bat wings senses something is off. She's just finished mopping the floor with a squad, finding them completely unimpressive. Her plan is to just stall until nightfall, then take out the rest in one clean sweep. It's a great way to conserve energy, and she's clearly pleased with her own evil genius. But her confident expression suddenly cracks, as she realizes something is terribly wrong. A girl with incredible power is nearby, and she wonders if this is her master's greatest enemy. With her own demonic aura flaring, she turns to face this mysterious new challenger. She spots the enemy headquarters from a rooftop, ready to make her move. And with glowing red eyes, she confidently declares she'll end this in one hit, unleashing a massive vortex of dark energy straight at the building, which slams into the ground with enough force to level a city block. Except the white-haired commander is just standing there, completely baffled by the sudden fireworks, because an old man is just casually floating in the sky, having blocked the entire attack. This newcomer smugly announces that reinforcements have finally arrived, then lectures the commander about how the Azuni family is on a whole other level. This commander is now sweating bullets, realizing he's completely out of his league here. Back on the rooftop, the red-haired attacker is shocked to see her target is still standing, as a massive winged spirit wolf emerges from the smoke, admitting that attack actually stung a bit. This wolf rears up, calling her an evil spirit who only knows how to use dirty tricks. But she just scoffs, dismissing it as nothing more than a big cat, which does not go over well. She then taunts it, asking how many of its 9 lives it just burned through, and the spirit wolf roars back, more than happy to show her. They both launch their attacks at the same time, a clash of red and blue energy, resulting in a massive mid-air explosion that rocks the entire area. This old man is confused, wondering why there are multiple people fighting when only one was sent, as the two combatants are now locked in a chaotic aerial brawl, with smaller creatures joining in. Finally, the old man has had enough and steps in, ordering both of them to stop fighting. This spirit wolf is not a fan of this interruption, demanding to know who the hell this guy is, who calmly introduces himself as their backup and tells them to knock it off already. Both the demon and the wolf are completely lost, having no idea what he's talking about. And the old man just gets annoyed, asking if there's a problem with his very simple orders. Deciding he's just another enemy, they both agree to take him out of the picture first. Meanwhile, Ling Chen is still racing toward the besieged town on his new armored horse. Turns out he's got a passenger, a blonde woman complaining that flying drains too much stamina. So he asks her about something she mentioned earlier, this Queen of Sorrow. She immediately plays dumb, claiming she has absolutely no memory of ever saying that, though she does admit the name sounds a little familiar as they speed along. But their high-speed travel is cut short when the horse suddenly bucks them off, sending the two of them tumbling through the air in a rather undignified heap, and Ling Chen lands flat on his back, completely dazed by the sudden crash. He looks up to see a talking unicorn standing over his now-dead horse, complaining about its appetite. This blonde woman immediately starts yelling at Ling Chen, blaming him for speeding. But the unicorn chimes in, smugly correcting her that they were moving at a turtle's pace. It then gets right in Ling Chen's face, blaming the whole mess on his incompetence. Ling Chen, completely over it, points out his horse is dead and demands a replacement. This unicorn magnanimously agrees, saying it will be merciful and grant his request. But it's very busy right now and will get him a faster horse, after it runs an errand. This unicorn zips off in a flash, leaving Ling Chen behind to run its very important errand. It's after a rare fruit that only grows every 10 years, and it's not letting anything get in its way. But its victory lap is cut short when it senses something impossible catching up from behind, as Ling Chen effortlessly leaps over it, asking where it thinks it's going. He lands smoothly, grabbing its mane and lecturing it on following basic traffic rules. This divine beast is completely stunned, sweating profusely in utter disbelief. It just can't process how a mere human is keeping pace with its legendary speed. Ling Chen, completely unfazed, just continues his thought with a smirk, declaring that since it's so fast, it's now officially his new horse. This unicorn is absolutely scandalized by the suggestion of being demoted to transportation. It rears up, boasting that it's a noble Kirin that even emperors bow down to, but its righteous indignation is getting it absolutely nowhere with Ling Chen. With a menacing glow in his eye, he simply asks if it's refusing his offer. That's all it takes for the Kirin to do a complete 180, eagerly accepting its new job. With his new ride secured, Ling Chen gives the destination, the Tatsumi Manor up north. And just like that, they're off. Moving so fast, they're just a streak of blue lightning. Their arrival carves a massive trench right into the ground outside the estate, stopping in front of a terrified man with a giant spirit wolf, who asks what he did wrong. This guy is already on the verge of tears, begging for his life and apologizing profusely. But the spirit wolf just grins, repeating the word apologize with pure predatory intent. This spirit wolf unleashes a devastating energy wave, sending the old man hurtling toward the manor, and he crashes right through the roof of the headquarters, landing hard in the main hall. His subordinates immediately panic, while the white-haired commander just sweats, totally out of his depth. Meanwhile, the red-haired demon woman takes aim at the remaining soldiers on the ground, unleashing a terrifying roar of dark energy that completely engulfs them in an instant, which makes the commander mistakenly think the Izumi clan has launched their main assault. Turns out, the old man he thought was an enemy is now impaled and bleeding out on his floor, who is completely bewildered, wondering why they're being attacked when they're supposed to be allies. This commander finally recognizes him as an Izumi clan elder but is too confused to really care. At that exact moment, the giant spirit wolf gets right in his face, looking ready to attack. He bravely asks what it wants, declaring they'll never surrender someone named Kyo. But the wolf just says it wants to pay its respects to its benefactor's uncle. This extremely unexpected request leaves both the commander and the demon woman speechless. It then clarifies that Lord Kyo is actually its mother's benefactor, not its own, before politely asking if it would be alright to just call the commander uncle. This commander is just impressed by its good manners, while the wolf credits its strict upbringing. Just then, a young warrior appears, realizing the giant wolf he saw before wasn't a hallucination. A quick flashback shows he'd spotted it during training, but was told to ignore it and focus. This demon woman finally introduces herself as Vivian, another ally sent by Lord Kyo to help, and the wolf is furious, demanding to know why she didn't say so before they tried to kill each other. This commander asks Vivian what her relationship is with this Lord Kyo she keeps mentioning, and she smugly claims they share a sacred bond, which is why he insists she use the title. This sends the commander into a full-blown panic, thinking Kyo is treating marriage way too lightly. He then promises to formally welcome her into the Tatsumi clan as Kyo's wife, a spectacular miscalculation. Vivian is completely mortified, realizing her little fib has spiraled way out of control. Just then, a new voice cuts through the awkwardness, demanding to know who's there. As Ling Chen arrives on his Kirin, announcing it's time for a little punishment, Vivian immediately tries to get him to play along with her sacred bond story, looking for an out. But Ling Chen just shuts her down cold, telling her to stop making things up. He then casually walks over to the commander, asking if his uncle is doing all right. This commander explains an Izumi elder attacked them, but these two allies kept things from getting worse. Down on the ground lies the defeated Izumi elder, looking completely broken after his assault. Ling Chen turns to him, coldly asking if he understands the consequences of his little stunt. But the old man just smirks, talking about survival fitness before threatening Ling Chen's sister. That one word, Runa, is enough to make Ling Chen's blood run cold. Turns out Runa and Toki have already been captured and are being flown away by a winged beast. With his eyes glowing red, Ling Chen promises there will be hell to pay if they're harmed. This elder boasts that he sent 3 times the number of elite warriors to guard them on the mountain. He then taunts Ling Chen to hurry, suggesting his friends are facing a fate worse than death, which earns him a furious glare from Vivian, who calls him out for his cruelty. Vivian immediately offers to use a forbidden spell to make sure the elder suffers even in death, but Ling Chen holds her back, deciding to see how this plays out first. Turns out Toki is already begging for a quick end, unable to take whatever torture they're putting him through, and the thought of Runa in danger makes Ling Chen's eye glow with pure rage. Back on the mountain, Runa is being forced to hold a blade to Toki's throat by a shadowy figure, who then reveals himself to be a big dude striking a very questionable pose surrounded by hearts, before blasting Toki with a massive pink heart of his own, which immediately turns Toki's eyes into little hearts as well. He's now completely love-struck, drooling over his new master, who asks if he's willing to die for him, and Toki pledges his entire being to his queen. Runa is absolutely horrified, begging the guy to just kill her instead of making her watch this, and he seems to consider her request, looking down with a blush. He then swings down to finish off the still smitten Toki, who just smiles as he starts to disintegrate, thankful for the opportunity. But just before he vanishes, Ling Chen zips in, grabbing Runa and getting her out of there, and he holds her close, telling her everything is alright now. This Kirin watches this, noting that based on the energy from that last attack, Runa is incredibly powerful. Meanwhile, the Izumi elder is in total shock, wondering how his perfect plan could have possibly failed, and he starts screaming at his men, calling the elite forces of the Izumi family a bunch of cowards. But one of his subordinates explains they weren't afraid, they just couldn't even scratch their opponents. This subordinate recounts how the silver-haired woman's fists were absolutely terrifying, with every seemingly wild swing being a perfectly calculated, devastating blow, sending the Izumi clan's elite warriors scattering in absolute terror. She just stood there completely unfazed, surrounded by her defeated opponents. But he says the other guy was even worse, controlling them with his mere presence, denying them even a dignified end as he toyed with their minds. Ling Chen smirks at the Izumi elder, confirming his fate worse than death threat was dead on. With his forces completely shattered, the elder formally admits his utter defeat. He immediately starts begging for his life, promising his clan will never attack again, and then tries to name-drop, boasting his leader is on equal terms with someone called Mukuryu, a spectacularly bad move that earns him a claw to the back from the spirit wolf. This wolf apologizes to Ling Chen for its impatience, having silenced the elder for good. Ling Chen just sighs, pointing out he still had questions for the now-dead guy. With the battle over, the Kirin awkwardly asks if its escort mission is done now, but a sly look from Ling Chen suggests he has other plans for his ride. He offers it a full-time job with benefits since his own teleportation has its limits. This Kirin is deeply offended, declaring it would rather starve than become a glorified taxi. Ling Chen's response is to summon a massive ice sword, a very persuasive counteroffer. He muses that flight is locked until level 4, making this a matter of pure convenience. Before his expression darkens, recalling the name Mukuryu the Elder just mentioned, Ling Chen recalls this Mukuryu guy was a major boss from the freezing demon dimension, but since he speedran the game, he only remembers the dude killed his own father. Vivian asks if this means Mukuryu assassinated King Lawton, which Ling Chen vaguely confirms. But the Afro dude chimes in, casually mentioning that King Lawton isn't actually dead. This little bombshell completely throws Ling Chen for a loop, leaving him speechless. A new blonde woman appears, and when he asks what's going on, she has no clue either. She then perches on his shoulder, sarcastically telling him to use his underdeveloped brain. Ling Chen figures either the game's plot has changed, or there's another, more complicated explanation. Meanwhile, the Kirin finally makes it back to its home turf, looking absolutely wiped out. It's so exhausted from the trip that it needs at least 10 spirit fruits to recover, so it gallops through the forest, heading straight for its favorite snack spot. But as it gets closer, it sees something that makes its blood run cold. This ground is littered with dead animals, all of them near the precious spirit fruits. It immediately realizes the fruits have been deliberately poisoned, a trap set just for it. Turns out these other animals only ate the fruit because the Kirin was late getting back. And it dawns on the Kirin that if Ling Chen hadn't delayed it, it would be dead right now. Realizing someone is actively trying to assassinate it, the Kirin bolts out of there. This scene shifts to a massive ominous castle under a dark and stormy sky. Inside Mukuryu's palace, a tense meeting is clearly underway on the grand staircase. A furious man demands to know why Mukuryu didn't send the reinforcements he was promised. Rihun reminds Mukuryu that he promised to help take down Kyo, a favor owed to the now extinct Suu family. But Mukuryu just scoffs, telling the guy not to get any funny ideas about their little arrangement. He gets up from his throne, looking completely unbothered by the whole situation, and clarifies that while he understood the deal, he never actually agreed to help. He then coldly tells Rehun to stop whining about trivial matters and remember his place. This immediately sends the guy into a full-on apology, begging for forgiveness for his little outburst. Meanwhile, Ling Chen is trying to piece together his memories of the game's massacre plot, and he asks Fu what happens if they mess with the original timeline, but she has no idea either. She just casually dumps all the responsibility on him, calling him her useless brother. Deciding to tackle one problem at a time, Ling Chen heads off to meet a certain Duke Lar. As he approaches the Duke's residence, a mysterious woman watches him from the shadows, but he's immediately stopped by the guards, who inform him the Duke isn't taking uninvited guests. Ling Chen explains he just needs a ticket for the Lunar's descent trial and asks if they can help him out. That's a hard no from them, and they cross their spears, ready for a fight if he pushes it. He plays it cool, saying he respects that they're just doing their jobs and doesn't want any trouble, before deciding he'll just have to go get the ticket himself, his eyes glowing with intent. This guard is not impressed by his attitude, powering up his spear with some kind of energy. He unleashes a dragon breath attack, warning Ling Chen to turn back or face the consequences. But the fiery dragon just swirls around Ling Chen, who doesn't even flinch, and he effortlessly catches the entire attack with one hand, completely neutralizing it. This guard goes flying, his fancy dragon breath attack completely backfiring on him. Ling Chen is already inside, where a very formal butler approaches him from the stairs. This butler notes his strength, guessing he's at least level 5 to pull that off. After a beat of pure silence, the butler finally gets to the point, explaining the Duke is busy with a problem and can't be disturbed right now. So Ling Chen offers to help, and just like that, the butler is leading him right in. Turns out Duke Lar has gathered a whole crowd of people to help cure his daughter's illness. He's desperate enough to promise anything to the one who succeeds, staking his life on it. This Duke then leads the potential saviors into his daughter's incredibly ornate room. Two guys in the back are already fantasizing about marrying into the Duke's family for a cure. Then they see the daughter, chained to the bed and surrounded by a dark, thorny aura. This would-be suitors are absolutely horrified, realizing this is no ordinary sickness. Duke Lar confirms she has the zombie disease, and he's completely out of ideas. Hearing that, the two guys immediately try to flee, terrified of getting infected themselves. But a mysterious white-haired woman steps forward, clearly disgusted by their cowardice. She confidently volunteers to try her hand at curing the Duke's daughter. Kneeling by the bed, she prepares to use a light of benevolent spell on the girl, but her holy magic is immediately rejected, leaving her completely stunned. Refusing to give up, she pours even more power into her healing light, which only causes the daughter to scream and thrash wildly against her restraints. This white-haired woman gives up, admitting her holy light is having zero effect on the curse. She turns away in frustration while Ling Chen just watches from the doorway, totally unimpressed. And that's when it clicks for him. This is the zombie plague outbreak from the game's main story. He remembers how the infection spread like wildfire, and the Duke tried desperately to save everyone. In the end, the Duke had to kill everyone, which Ling Chen just chalks up to a kid's poor stress management. Back in the present, the healer tells the Duke the only option left is a mercy killing. This Duke absolutely loses it, refusing to kill his own daughter just because she's sick. But she warns him that if he hesitates, everyone in the entire castle is doomed. That's when Ling Chen chimes in, casually asking why she isn't using the shadow technique. This stops everyone cold, with the Duke demanding to know who the hell he is. Ling Chen ignores them, walking to the bed while recalling how this city was once run by a dark cult. His catgirl companion mentally roasts the locals, comparing them to low-level goons in a completely different genre. He gathers a ball of dark energy in his hand, telling everyone to just sit back and watch, before smacking the girl right in the chest, shattering her chains with the sheer force of the blow. This daughter coughs, the dark aura around her completely vanishing in an instant. She looks up, her eyes completely clear and the curse seemingly broken for good. This duke rushes over, overjoyed that his precious daughter is finally back to her old self. Ling Chen just smirks, thinking about the legendary mages who should exist in this era to fight these cults. This white-haired healer approaches him, looking completely and utterly dumbfounded by what she just saw. She immediately starts begging him to teach her whatever god-tier technique he just used. Ling Chen lays it out for the healer. To learn his shadow technique, she'd have to ditch her light magic for good. To his surprise, Sonya instantly agrees, saying she'll abandon anything if it means saving lives. That declaration completely stuns Ling Chen as she insists she'll do whatever it takes to cure others. So Shu Sonya, a future legendary sage, formally asks to become his disciple and learn the shadow arts. Just then, the Duke happily hands over the trial ticket, which also acts as a VIP pass around town. On top of that, the Duke offers him any favor he wants, but Ling Chen just says the ticket is enough. With a sly grin, he pockets the reward, promising to drop by if he ever needs that favor. This sends the Duke into a full-on tearful meltdown, promising his family will never forget this kindness. Back outside, Sonya immediately corners him again, demanding to know why he won't teach her his technique. She gets uncomfortably close, practically begging him, and promising to work hard, which clearly flusters our boy. Trying to regain his composure, Ling Chen explains that the path of shadow isn't the only answer. He points out that if she truly mastered holy light, she could probably cure the disease anyway, but she's not convinced. He then drops the bomb, chibi style. Maybe her holy light failed because she just lacks faith. That simple comment triggers a full-on epiphany, and she thanks him for understanding holy light better than she does. She then dramatically kneels and repents, blaming her own incompetence for almost abandoning her sacred path. Our boy just tells her to get going, and she promises to do better, vowing to seek his guidance again. Once she's gone, Ling Chen lets out a huge sigh, admitting he couldn't just turn the future Supreme Holy Sage into a back-alley assassin. His brain conjures up an image of her as a shadow assassin, and it's not exactly subtle. Besides, creating a plot hole that massive could break the whole system, so he decides to just go eat some dango. His quest for dango is immediately interrupted by a vendor shaking him down for rent he already paid. This vendor is shaking down the dango seller for a full year's rent, telling her to pay up or get lost. Fu immediately steps in to call out the ridiculous demand, but the guy just gets hostile. Losing his cool entirely, the vendor lunges forward, screaming at her to get out of his face. But Ling Chen effortlessly intercepts the attack, leaving the vendor fuming about being disrespected in his own city. In response, Ling Chen just coolly flashes the VIP pass he got from Duke Lar, which sends the vendor into a full-blown panic, realizing who he just tried to intimidate. He sputters out an apology and bolts, leaving Fu to gloat about the stupid old man. With the bully gone, Ling Chen finally gets his dango, telling the grateful woman he'll take one of everything. Just as he's about to enjoy his snack, he calls out the person who's been tailing him. It's the mysterious woman from the Duke's residence, and she's shocked he found her. Turns out her perfect disguise is just a paper bag, which even a little kid finds completely bizarre. She removes the bag, revealing she's some kind of royal nun, and she seems to know all about the zombie outbreak. She gets straight to the point, revealing the Duke's daughter was just the beginning. The city's water source is contaminated. Ling Chen shuts her down flat, saying he couldn't care less about the Empire's political drama. Instead, he just offers a dango to Fu, who looks like she's ascending to a higher plane of existence. She scrambles onto his shoulder demanding the snack, while Ling Chen scoffs at helping some edgy wannabe overlord. At that moment, a little girl approaches him carrying a huge bag of snacks. She explains it's a thank you gift from her mother, the vendor he just helped out. This mother calls her daughter, Shenfa, back to the stall, thanking him one last time. As he watches the happy family, a grim memory surfaces, this very city burning with people fleeing in terror. That memory of the happy family is enough to change his mind, so Ling Chen asks the nun to lead the way. She brings him to a scenic waterfall that's been completely overrun by a foul, corrupting aura. This nun doubts he can fix it, but he just smirks, telling her to stand back and watch a master at work. Getting serious, he tells her to be quiet while he focuses on cleansing the source. He unleashes a wave of dark energy, which surges forward to consume the corruption. In a flash, the water is pure again, leaving the royal nun completely stunned by his power. But the effort completely drains him, and he realizes there are at least a dozen more sites to purify. Needing a new strategy, he asks her to turn around for a moment, which she finds incredibly suspicious. She watches him walk off into the woods, clearly not buying whatever excuse he's about to make. When she calls him out, he just says he needs to take a leak, a truly bulletproof plan. This, of course, sends her into a flustered rage about public indecency. While she's distracted, Ling Chen suddenly senses a powerful killing intent nearby. An assassin drops from the trees above, moving in for a silent kill. Ling Chen is completely out of spiritual energy. He can't teleport or even dodge in time. This masked attacker lunges forward with his sword, ready to end it all. But the nun suddenly blasts Ling Chen out of the way with a wall of golden fire. She then unleashes a massive telekinetic attack, a swirling vortex of pure energy. This blast sends both men flying, and she casually complains that he could have helped her. Pinned to the ground, Ling Chen calls her out for attacking him right in front of a sheriff. He realizes she's getting payback for his earlier comments, learning you can't judge a nun by her habit. This nun introduces herself as Sheriff Fenon, threatening to drag Ling Chen to a torture chamber. Meanwhile, the masked assassin staggers back to his feet, sword at the ready. He immediately lunges at the sheriff, swinging his blade in a furious arc, telling her to get lost because his real target is someone else entirely. She just smirks, sarcastically noting that she must have gone too easy on him. To correct that mistake, she unleashes a massive telekinetic field to crush him. But the assassin deftly dodges, leading her to mock his limited attack range. So she just decides to maximize her power, flooding the area with purple energy. This assassin quickly realizes he can avoid the effect if he just outruns the spell's origin. He zips around her at high speed, but she remains completely unimpressed. In an instant, she appears behind him, grabbing him before he can even react. With the assassin in her grasp, she asks if he knows why she prefers physical punishments. It's not because she's bad at other things, she explains with a terrifyingly smug grin. It's because if she didn't hold back, she'd kill her targets way too quickly. She twists his arm for emphasis, adding that an easy death isn't much of a punishment, but her fun is cut short when her attention is suddenly drawn somewhere else. A new enemy has spotted Ling Chen, seeing a perfect opportunity to take his head. Ling Chen, for his part, is just casually eating a snack to recover his strength. This assassin is completely baffled, wondering why our boy is eating in the face of death. Ling Chen then holds up the last piece, which is now glowing with full-power telekinesis. This second assassin recognizes the telekinesis, completely shocked by the glowing dango snack. But Sheriff Fenon just scoffs, boasting that a little trick like that won't even faze her. She unleashes her own attack, firing a couple of energy orbs with a smug grin, which slam into the assassin before he can even react to the new threat. Ling Chen just smirks, taunting the down goon for getting careless and failing to dodge. With the fight over, he casually decides to see if the guy has anything worth looting. Fenon is stunned, admitting she had no idea telekinesis could be used so creatively. He starts rifling through the assassin's pockets, while Fu mentally roasts the guy for being broke. This sheriff immediately gets curious, demanding to see what he found on the body. She recognizes an insignia, realizing it belongs to the elite guards of a certain Lord Ray. Ling Chen isn't surprised at all, confirming it was obviously an assassin sent by this lord. When she asks why, he explains he just took down some other goons who were connected to Ray. She offers to smooth things over, suggesting Lord Ray might even reward him for curing the plague. In fact, she starts gushing about how noble Ray is, admitting she became a sheriff to serve him. Ling Chen just rolls his eyes, sarcastically calling him a perfect hero and telling her she's clueless. He then warns her that he can't cleanse all the water sources alone, suggesting she evacuate the city. If she doesn't, he cryptically adds, he will turn the entire castle into a slaughterhouse. This leaves Fenon completely baffled, demanding to know who he is. He just tells her she'll find out soon enough, walking away as she demands a real answer. This scene then cuts to the heavily guarded Imperial Palace, the likely home of this Lord Ray. Ling Chen writes off Lord Ray as a spoiled, wannabe hero, deciding it's time to have a little chat. Fu warns him the palace is crawling with elite fighters and has a barrier that nullifies spiritual energy. He just smirks, telling her it's fine since she's here, placing his life entirely in her hands. This completely flusters her, though she tries to act tough, demanding he respect her power more. He then hands her a heavy-looking box to hold, thinking about how cute she is when she's flustered. A sinister grin spreads across his face as he imagines her tripping and crying over the box, which is his cue to give her a little push to get things started. After a quick countdown, he straight up launches her off the cliff toward the palace. So Fu goes sailing through the air, screaming her head off as a perfect box-carrying projectile. Down below, the palace guards spot the incoming threat and immediately prepare for an attack. Seeing his distraction has worked perfectly, Ling Chen knows this is his chance to slip inside. Once she lands, the guards surround her, asking what's wrong with the poor, distressed lady. She immediately starts crying crocodile tears, claiming she was escaping a dangerous kidnapper. When they ask where he is, she conveniently points right back in Ling Chen's direction. This guards completely fall for it, mobilizing a squad to go hunt down the supposed culprit. Just as she's about to slip away, however, the captain of the guard stops her in her tracks. He insists on escorting her personally, since a kidnapper is obviously on the loose. He's not buying it. Fu's face drops as she realizes her brilliant escape plan just got a whole lot more complicated. Meanwhile, Ling Chen is already inside, casually eating chicken and complimenting the royal chef's skills. He then turns to the stunned king, smugly asking him what he thinks of the situation so far. This king, for his part, is completely paralyzed, unable to even speak under Ling Chen's influence. Our boy just casually explains he can hear thoughts, so there's no need for all that pesky talking. His Majesty's first mental message is a simple one. Who the hell is this guy in his throne room? While still munching on his snack, Ling Chen drops the bomb about the impending zombie apocalypse. He then clarifies that the king's own son, Lord Ray, is going to snap and slaughter everyone in the castle. This king immediately scoffs at the warning, boasting that his god-protected empire is immune to such nonsense. He's even more offended by the idea that his perfect son would ever turn on his own people. Ling Chen cuts him off, sarcastically reciting the prophecy about the prince being some chosen one. This completely throws the king for a loop, who demands to know how he knew his favorite monologue. Turns out that's the king's private hype speech he's been repeating to himself for decades. Ling Chen just coldly points out he probably didn't expect to be hearing it on his deathbed, though. He tells the old man to go verify the facts himself if he thinks he's lying. This king decides to play along, secretly planning to summon a subordinate named Mayan to handle this. But Ling Chen, still reading his mind, calls him out on the secret plan immediately. Meanwhile, Foof is leading the palace guards on a completely pointless wild goose chase through the city. She plays the damsel, claiming she's just too hungry to remember anything and asks for a snack. This captain is completely done with her act, deciding to just take her back to the palace by force. His subordinate worries about the consequences, but the captain insists on detaining any suspicious person. With his decision made, he officially tells Fu she's coming with them, one way or another. So Fu just unleashes a massive blast of divine power, screaming about heavenly punishment. With a final taunt, Fu zips away, leaving the guard captain to realize she was suspicious from the start. Elsewhere, a subordinate frantically reports the throne room intrusion to a heavily armored figure named Lord Mayan. But this hooded priest is already watching everything, using magical orbs to monitor the entire castle. He has a perfect view of Ling Chen's little confrontation with the king, seeing it all in real time. Back in the throne room, Ling Chen calls out the king for trying to secretly summon his goons. This king smugly explains he didn't have to. His level 8 priest already senses any disturbance in the palace. He also boasts that a protection talisman would have vaporized Ling Chen if he'd even tried to attack. On top of that, a sacred barrier supposedly seals all magic and formations within the castle walls. Ling Chen just smirks, sarcastically asking if he's supposed to believe there's no way out. Feeling confident, the king demands our boy spill everything he knows in exchange for his life. Ling Chen looks completely unimpressed by the offer, deciding now's the perfect time to act. Dark energy immediately begins to swirl around him as he prepares to make his own exit. Just as Mayan teleports in, Ling Chen vanishes through a portal, leaving the priest a second too late. This powerful priest, revealed to be an old man, is stunned that someone could just disappear like that. This king immediately asks Mayan how many people on the continent could possibly be stronger than him. Mayan admits there are a few dozen, but claims even they'd be trapped by the castle's ceiling formation. He's completely baffled, wondering who could possess the power to simply ignore their ultimate defense. This scene then cuts to the king fishing, remembering a prophecy about a doomed fate being overturned. He recalls a mysterious voice asking him a question, a memory that's suddenly becoming very relevant. It was a turtle on his fishing line, warning him not to outright reject strange whispers he might hear. This king remembers that talking turtle, who warned him to listen to the whispers of the gods. Now he's seriously wondering if Ling Chen was a divine messenger this whole time. Meanwhile, Ling Chen floats in a portal, smugly noting his wild escape plan totally worked. He's arrived at the Lunar Descent Trial Grounds, a place you get teleported to by activating its entrance. Turns out these grounds are a natural phenomenon, impossible for mortals to control directly. That's why he had Fu activate the teleportation device on his signal, forcing him out of the palace. There was just one tiny flaw. Usually, only the person activating the device gets pulled inside. So he gambled that the trial would detect his spiritual energy instead of Fu's, and it paid off perfectly. Fu, completely drained from the effort, immediately demands a massive reward for her troubles. She's already dreaming of a fancy meal, telling Brother Trash to finally get her something good. Ling Chen just laughs it off, ready to clear the trials and get some serious level-ups. But he's immediately interrupted by two other challengers who've been waiting for him. This pink-haired girl wants to test his skills, while her partner complains he's wasted all their time. This masked guy is furious, blaming Ling Chen for all the treasure they've missed out on. A third companion, Renessa, thinks it's for the best, since he might have died if he'd gone in alone. This first girl checks his stats and is completely floored. He's only level 1. Ling Chen just smirks, confirming that nope, there's no mistake, he's a total newbie. This masked guy asks Renessa what to do, since leaving a level 1 is basically a death sentence. His brilliant idea is to just ditch the dead weight and leave Ling Chen to fend for himself. But Renessa shuts that down, declaring their council would never abandon someone in danger. This masked guy and his pink-haired partner are completely lost on what this council is. But Renessa steps in, arguing that anyone who made it this far must have some hidden talent. She offers Ling Chen protection, telling him to stay close to the group for his own good. Her masked companion reluctantly agrees, but warns our boy that all loot will be split evenly. Ling Chen just gives him a death glare, clarifying that he never actually agreed to join their party. In fact, he flatly tells them he works better alone, leaving the guy completely speechless. This pink-haired girl is shocked, warning him the monsters here are level 6 and up, which he just brushes off, saying he's always been lucky and some people just can't stand the weak. While the masked guy wants to just leave him, Renessa decides she won't stop him if he's that determined. So with that, Ling Chen turns his back on them and walks off into the darkness alone. He even gives them a parting wave, casually mentioning their path leads straight to a monster den. This masked guy just scoffs, saying if the kid is that eager to die, they should just let him. Renessa watches him go, wondering if maybe he really is protected by some kind of good fortune. Meanwhile, Ling Chen heads deeper into the cave, straight into the danger they warned him about. A massive, multi-eyed dragon immediately senses his presence, calling him a fresh soul for the taking. But a blinding pillar of light suddenly erupts from the ceiling, engulfing the entire cavern. Turns out, Ling Chen knows this place. It's the Moonfall Hollow, a dungeon he's run hundreds of times. He knows the layout perfectly, yet for some reason, he's getting a really weird feeling. A moment later, he realizes he's already passed this exact spot, meaning he's actually lost. Just as a snake monster lunges, he decides to just double back, totally unfazed by the ambush. Ling Chen casually notes he must have stepped on something, completely oblivious to the dead snake under his boot. At that moment, a massive wolf monster appears, but Ling Chen just gives it a bored side-eye. This wolf starts scolding its snake buddy for not attacking together, basically an I told you so moment. Our boy just calls the monster a mutt and asks for directions to a certain General Saitsu's lair. This wolf is completely offended, assuming the pathetic human is already scared and trying to escape. Ling Chen just smirks, clarifying he has no intention of leaving and just wants the lair's location. So the monster introduces itself as the Thunder Wolf, powering up a massive vortex of green energy, which Ling Chen just casually bats aside with one hand, telling it to get out of the way. With the wolf down, he complains about its bad breath, suggesting its boss teach his minions some dental hygiene. This snake monster pops back up to check on its friend, but the Thunderwolf is clearly not okay. This wolf realizes it was careless, now seeing Ling Chen's soul as a high-value prize. Ling Chen seems surprised it's still breathing, then realizes they've got some kind of evil spirit power. Getting back on its feet, the wolf confirms it, declaring that Ling Chen is never leaving this place alive. It then calls for backup, and a whole pack of monsters materializes, ready to swarm him. Now completely surrounded, Ling Chen just looks down on the snarling pack from a small ledge. He just smirks, thinking this is perfect for wiping them all out in one go as a golden light appears. A massive pillar of golden light then erupts from the ground, engulfing the entire monster horde. Elsewhere, a subordinate reports a new monster to the boss, who has to clarify it's actually just a human. This big boss, General Saitsu, finally lays eyes on the human, causing all the commotion. Ling Chen just smirks, complimenting his own power for being so useful in rounding up the trash. General Saitsu is completely baffled by this human's power, even mistaking him for a long-dead hero, and one of his snake minions frantically warns him that the intruder is on his way. This general just roars at his underlings, calling them a bunch of useless weaklings, but internally he's impressed by Ling Chen's strength, already planning to devour him for a power-up. At that exact moment, Ling Chen steps into view, casually letting the boss know he heard everything. Surrounded by a halo of golden weapons, he asks if the boss plans to surrender or needs persuading. This dragon boss offers our boy the honor of having his name remembered before he's killed. Ling Chen, now sporting some new gear, is completely done with the monologue and powers up his attack. His golden spears slam into some kind of invisible wall, shattering on impact, and he's already complaining that the boss is so weak, the reward probably won't be worth it. Saitsu emerges from the smoke, boasting that he's faced far stronger opponents who all failed. He credits his victories to his boundless power, claiming absolute dominance over all challengers, only for Ling Chen's golden weapons to materialize again, pinning the dragon in place. This boss just dares him to keep going, testing how long his spiritual energy can possibly last. Ling Chen just mocks him, saying that with enough nourishment, even a punching bag can throw a tantrum. He decides his current attack is too petty, smirking as he prepares to bring out the big guns. All the golden weapons then converge into a single, massive vortex of holy energy, which then solidifies into a gigantic golden greatsword, crackling with immense power. This dragon boss immediately recognizes the weapon, panicking that it's the legendary Soul Cleaver greatsword. Ling Chen grabs the hilt, noting that since they're alone, he doesn't have to hold back at all. With no need to hold back, Ling Chen swings the massive Soul Cleaver greatsword down on the dragon, but the boss just vanishes in a puff of green smoke, leaving the attack to hit nothing. Our boy is understandably confused, wondering where his giant monster piñata just went. All that's left is a floating green wisp, which he assumes is just some leftover energy. Thinking one strike wasn't enough, he immediately prepares to swing the greatsword again, but the wisp suddenly begs the hero to stop his attack. It then transforms into a green-haired horned woman who thanks him for setting her free. She introduces herself as Lexatha, the actual spirit remnant of the dragon he was just fighting. Turns out the skeletal dragon on the ground was her original body, possessed by an evil spirit. Getting way too close for comfort, she explains her world is on the brink of destruction and needs him. Ling Chen, completely unimpressed, just tells her to back off, or he'll strike her down too. She agrees to give him some space, then starts her tragic backstory from centuries ago. Her tale begins with the dragons who guarded this land, Alaria, since the dawn of time. This trial zone was once a place of hope, right up until an evil spirit legion invaded. She apparently led her own forces into battle against the invaders, trying to protect her home. But they were utterly defeated, forcing her to seal her last remnant deep within her own body. Ling Chen immediately cuts her off, telling her to just get to the point already. She explains the evil spirits now run these trials to crush any hope left in Alaria, his reason for being here. He bluntly tells her he's just in it for the quests and rewards. So she lays out the enemy's entire plan. Lure the land's rising talents here and kill them all. Ling Chen calls her bluff, asking why this place isn't infamous if it's such a death trap. Lexatha explains the system is rigged, the average challengers get rewarded to keep up appearances. But the real prodigies, the ones with world-changing potential, are specifically hunted down and eliminated. Since these geniuses are so rare, their accidental deaths over the centuries never raised any alarms. He immediately puts it together. It's a perfectly disguised trap to weed out future heroes. She gets right in his face, insisting another prodigy is about to die and only he can stop it. Ling Chen just assumes she's talking about him, wondering why he'd need to save himself. Frustrated by his cluelessness, she decides to just show him who the actual target is, revealing a vision of Renessa, the girl from the other party, fighting for her life. Renessa is seen barely holding her own against a massive monster, her party watching helplessly. Our boy looks at the vision, completely unimpressed, asking if she's really the genius in question. Lexatha begs him to be the hero, but Ling Chen just flatly refuses and says he's leaving. As he walks away, she's left completely stunned, demanding to know why he'd refuse. He points out the obvious. She's an ancient dragon who failed, so why should he risk his neck for nothing? She tries to reassure him, claiming the truly powerful evil spirits left a long time ago. Ling Chen immediately pokes a hole in her story, asking if she can guarantee the old guard won't return. And of course she can't, which just proves his point that it's a terrible deal. His inner guide chimes in, suggesting he could at least ask the dragon for some treasure. He scoffs at the idea, thinking a mere soul wisp couldn't possibly have anything valuable. But Lexatha perks right up, confidently declaring that, oh yes, she has plenty of treasures. Ling Chen's greedy little brain immediately lights up at the mere mention of treasure. Lexatha offers him a serious upgrade, using her soul to turn his heart into a dragon's. Now he's listening, as she explains a dragon's heart is basically kryptonite to evil spirits. With it, he'd become their natural predator, an idea he clearly likes the sound of. But our boy cuts her off, demanding she get to the point, is he saving the girl or not? With that, her green soul wisp flies straight towards him to begin the power-up. Meanwhile, Renessa's party is getting absolutely wrecked by a monster way above their tier. Her attacks just bounce right off its armor, sending her flying backward through the air. This pink-haired mage, Lisa, can't even cast properly because her magic is being disrupted. Seeing Renessa in trouble, the masked guy charges in with his spiked bat to help out. This monster just gives him a smug grin, completely unimpressed by the backup. Renessa weighs her options, wondering if she has to use her trump card just to survive. Their combined assault is a total failure, with the monster dodging them effortlessly. Having dealt with the fighters, the beast now turns its attention to the terrified Lisa on the ground. It reaches down to grab her as she desperately calls out for help. But Renessa intercepts at the last second, blocking its massive hand with a glowing fist. She blasts it back with a burst of power, warning it to keep its hands off her friend. Renessa then tells Lisa to run for the entrance, deciding to take this thing on alone. This just makes the monster even angrier, letting out a furious roar. Renessa knows its regeneration is insane, meaning she's only got one chance to end this. Renessa decides to go all out, summoning a massive orb of golden energy above her hand. Calling on her Lionheart sword, she transforms, her hair turning blonde as holy power surrounds her. She then leaps into the air, bringing down a holy judgment slash right on the monster's head, which connects with a massive explosion, seemingly obliterating the beast in a single hit. Her party is completely stunned by the display, with Lisa calling her absolutely amazing. Back to her normal self, Renessa just casually tells them the thing's dead and it's time to move on. But of course, a much bigger, meaner-looking monster immediately appears right behind her. And this one's got a giant, horrifying mouth right on its stomach that opens wide, completely swallowing her next attack and leaving Renessa to think this is the end. Just as she's about to give up, a hand gently rests on her shoulder. She looks back in shock, seeing someone has appeared out of nowhere to help. And it's Ling Chen, who casually asks the giant monster if it realizes how noisy it's being. Renessa recognizes him, frantically telling him to run away while she holds it off. But he completely ignores her, scooping her up and dodging the monster's punch with zero effort. In a single leap, he lands them safely on a high ledge, well out of the beast's reach, leaving the monster roaring in frustration as it prepares to charge them again. Ling Chen just tells her to be quiet before dropping down and stomping on the monster's head, and with the beast dazed, he calmly asks if it's feeling a little more relaxed now. He then sets Renessa down, telling her to stay back so she doesn't get caught in the crossfire. And when she offers to help after resting, he just smirks, promising it'll be over before she can. Ling Chen squares up with the giant, looking about as threatened as if he were facing a puppy. And immediately, he's whining that his foot hurts, wondering what this thing's skull is made of. Renessa chimes in, explaining that this monster is a giant, one of the few remaining on the continent. His new spirit guide adds that giants are basically the ancestors of humanity, ancient and powerful. This giant, meanwhile, is getting back up, hissing with some serious murderous intent. It powers up with a nasty purple aura, looking 10 times more dangerous than before. Ling Chen is now officially confused since the dragon lady promised the evil spirits here were weaklings. Deciding to test that theory, he leaps high into the air, right above the monster's head. He comes down with an annihilation strike, slamming his heel right into its skull, only for the attack to do absolutely nothing, leaving him standing there with his dagger drawn. This giant doesn't even have a scratch on it, looking completely unimpressed by the effort. With a casual backhand, it just swats Ling Chen away like a fly. This impact sends him flying across the cavern. He lands hard, realizing this thing's hide is way too tough for him to cut through. His spirit guide pops up to helpfully remind him that while giants are nothing to dragons, he's a rookie. When the party suggests bailing, Ling Chen tells them to go on ahead, insisting he's staying to fight. Internally, though, he admits he'd absolutely love to run away right now. But he knows this is a system trap, and leaving means kissing all those sweet rewards goodbye. This swordswoman from the other party steps up, declaring that ditching the guy who saved them isn't her style. Besides, she doesn't want to see a cute guy get wrecked, offering to buff his strength and agility. This masked guy reluctantly offers up his enchanted bat, which apparently cost him a small fortune, and with a heavy heart, he tosses the pricey weapon over to Ling Chen. Our boy catches it, immediately noting it's not the most useful tool for the job. So naturally, he just chucks the bat right at the giant's stomach, much to its owner's horror, who can only watch as his 300 gold coins go flying towards certain doom. This bat makes a sad little bonk sound as it connects too squarely with the monster's head, before bouncing off harmlessly. But Ling Chen has already clocked the giant's slow movements. He quickly forms a plan with the swordswoman. He'll slide under and she'll provide backup. This giant takes the bait, stomping forward with a deafening rumble, giving Ling Chen the perfect opening to slide right between its legs. His new fan club cheers him on, absolutely convinced they can't lose this fight. But just as he's in position, the monster's horrifying stomach mouth opens right in his face. A slimy red tongue shoots out, wrapping around our boy before he can even react, dragging him straight into the giant's gaping maw like an afternoon snack. This jaws snap shut, and just like that, Ling Chen is officially monster food. This pink-haired mage is absolutely devastated about the 300 gold coins he just lost. Meanwhile, the swordswoman is actually furious, demanding the monster spit him out, and she follows up with a massive golden slash right across its back. Unfortunately, her blade just gets stuck in its impossibly tough hide, leaving her powerless. This giant doesn't even flinch, just standing there with a brand new sword accessory. This swordswoman is down for the count, completely at the mercy of the giant's next move. And the monster lets out a victory roar, thinking it's finally won the fight. But from inside its stomach, Ling Chen smugly asks how it feels to have a dragon for indigestion. Turns out Lixatha wasn't exaggerating. Her dragon power is pure, concentrated poison to these things. He's basically become a walking, talking bioweapon, holding a ball of corrosive green energy. Suddenly, the giant gets a nasty case of heartburn as an explosion rips right through its gut. And Ling Chen bursts out, wreathed in green flames, offering to put it out of its misery. He faces the now staggering beast, looking like he's about to take out the trash. With a smirk, he declares this whole mess is just his personal escape route. This giant finally collapses into a steaming heap on the ground, completely neutralized. As the cavern starts to crumble, the swordswoman yells for everyone to make a run for it. Lixatha watches from the sidelines, impressed that her chosen warrior actually pulled it off. Realizing this victory isn't just local, the evil energy across the continent just took a major hit. Meanwhile, in some fancy palace, a robed advisor asks a lord named Pristine about the king's whereabouts. And Pristine is shocked to learn his own father has vanished from the palace without a word. He's so stressed by the news he starts coughing up blood, which is never a good sign. His advisor immediately asks if he's unwell, but Pristine seems just as confused by it. He plays it off as simple stress, trying to convince himself his father is perfectly safe. This advisor then pivots, wondering why they haven't dealt with some guy named Chen who's purifying city water, even suggesting that since this Chen is fighting the same evil, maybe he'd make a good ally. Pristine decides this Chen guy is a loose cannon who's going to ruin his grand anti-demon plan. So he cooks up a smear campaign, blaming Chen for the plague and ordering the city burned tonight. Meanwhile, in that very city, some balloons float ominously over the quiet streets, where two kids ask a very tall, crown-wearing nun to help rescue their lost balloon. She agrees, casually activating her Gravity Zero ability with a completely deadpan expression. A pink aura flares as she effortlessly plucks the balloon right out of the tree branches. Turns out this was all a scheme by the kids to get a peek up her habit, a plan they're very proud of. This nun, however, is giving them a look that could curdle milk, clearly not amused. After handing it back, they immediately ask for help with a cat, really testing her patience. But instead of thanking her, they grab her arm and try to slam her into the pavement, which backfires spectacularly, leaving both kids with broken arms from the sheer impact. She coldly informs the little delinquents that if they were any older, they'd be in jail. She then wonders aloud why the city is so quiet, since she was expecting a major incident. And right on schedule, a terrified woman runs up begging for help, confirming her suspicions. This woman points down the street, frantically explaining that something is eating people. In the distance, a hulking green monster is indeed causing absolute chaos among the citizens. A city guard's attack just bounces right off its armored skin with a useless clang. This nun spots a mother and child cornered, realizing this is an evolved plague victim. This beast hisses, stalking towards its next meal as the mother holds her child close. Done with the games, the nun unleashes her gravity magic at full power to end this. With a single stomp, her gravity magic flattens the plague monster into a purple smear. She then calls out to a new arrival, declaring herself their opponent with tears in her eyes, and after telling the grateful civilians to run for it, she prepares for the real fight. She realizes the infection is too advanced for the local water, suspecting a bigger plot at play. At that exact moment, the man she just saved erupts in a blaze of sinister fire, consuming him and the child in an instant, leaving nothing but scorched ground. From a rooftop, a masked man coolly informs her that no one is getting out of this alive. This nun immediately demands to know who he is and what he's doing here. But he just says this whole disaster is happening on the orders of someone named Chen. Hearing that name, her expression turns to pure, concentrated fury. He then spins a tale about a zombie plague destroying the city, all part of the Fell Legion's plan. An energy blast follows his words, which she casually deflects with a flick of her wrist. She catches the attack in her hand, calling his story complete and utter nonsense, which surprises him since he recognizes her power is from a holy contract. She introduces herself as a sheriff for the Privy Council, promising him a fun interrogation later. Her title completely throws him off, since the Privy Council has no business being here. Suddenly, the entire city erupts in explosions as more of his allies make their move. This masked man identifies the attack as the Sacred Flame Verdict, a very specific power, and the nun knows exactly who uses it, realizing only one group on the continent has that ability. He just smirks, deciding her official story will be that she died a hero trying to save everyone. A silver-haired assassin, one of the masked man's allies, leaps in with a vicious strike. But his attack slashes harmlessly through the air, completely missing the unfazed nun. She's barely scratched, coolly offering to end his life with at least a shred of dignity. He just scoffs, identifying himself as Ulrich, the chief aide to none other than Lord Pristine. This Ulrich guy laments what a shame it is, since she's clearly a talented warrior. He reveals she's with the Privy Council, saying she wasted a chance to join his lordship's cause. She's stunned to hear this is all Pristine's plan, and Ulrich quickly regrets his loose tongue. With a smug grin, he decides the chit-chat is over, and it's time to end this for good. In a flash of regret, she realizes she should have believed whoever warned her about this plot. She knows this guy is about to slaughter everyone, regretting not evacuating the city earlier. These two are now locked in a fierce battle, surrounded by the spreading golden flames. Suddenly, Ulrich feels an overwhelming power approaching and knows it's time to retreat, but it's too late as glowing blue chains shoot up from the ground, locking him in place. He instantly recognizes the magic restricting barrier, realizing he's completely trapped. At that moment, the king arrives with his entourage, remarking how lucky it is he came personally. This trapped assassin looks up in shock, addressing the newcomer as Your Majesty. This nun, Win, calls him father, and he lectures her about forging her own path. Then the king addresses the old mage, Lord Meyer, about his daughter's unannounced seat on the Privy Council. He turns his icy gaze on Ulrich, demanding the assassin account for his actions. This king orders Ulrich arrested, promising that a man named Alfred will explain this whole conspiracy to him later. This old mage, Lord Meyer, begins casting a spell to summon rain over the burning city. But he's suddenly bound by glowing blue chains, completely unable to move. And it turns out Prince Pristine is the one who trapped him using a one-time sealing charm. Lord Meyer can only stare in disbelief, realizing he's been betrayed by the prince himself. This king furiously demands to know why his own son would commit such treason, but Pristine just scoffs, claiming his love for the empire is far greater than his father's. He launches into a villain monologue about how only shared hatred can forge true unity. His grand plan is to prepare the people for the coming Fell Legion invasion through suffering, which makes the king realize his son orchestrated all these disasters on purpose. A fact Pristine calmly admits is just a necessary sacrifice for the greater good. As the city burns around them, their little family dispute is officially on full display. This king points out the heavens themselves are raging, but Pristine couldn't care less, arguing that if the gods actually cared, his people wouldn't be suffering to begin with. At that exact moment, one of his hooded minions zips in with some very convenient news. They've captured the very man Pristine has been searching for, our boy Ling Chen. Pristine's smug grin says it all. His perfect scapegoat has just been hand-delivered. With a flick of his wrist, he effortlessly levitates the unconscious Ling Chen into the air, taunting his father that this is clearly a sign of divine favor for his twisted cause. After all, why else would the gods deliver a supposed Fell Legion spy right to him? This king, however, recognizes Ling Chen as the divine messenger, not some random enemy. But Win isn't about to let her brother get away with this, powering up her gravity magic, only for Pristine to effortlessly disperse her attack, slamming her flat against a wall. He smugly reminds his sister that he taught her those holy skills, which means he knows every counter. With his family subdued, he hoists up Ling Chen and begins his grand performance for the city, claiming this Fell Legion spy unleashed a plague so bad they had no choice but to burn everything down. And just like that, the city erupts in holy fire, providing the perfect backdrop for his lies. Pristine then declares he will execute Chen to bring justice to the fallen and rally the people. He raises his sword over our unconscious hero, ready to deliver the final theatrical blow, and brings it down in a blinding flash, putting on a real show for his new followers. But let's rewind an hour, back when Ling Chen and his new party just cleared the dungeon. They've successfully made it out, standing together at the now quiet dungeon entrance. Two of his new companions invite him to their neighborhood, promising to repay him for his help. This pink-haired girl nudges her quiet friend Lisa for support, but Lisa's not paying attention, because she's completely fixated on Ling Chen, lost in her own thoughts. Turns out she was told she was a once-in-a-century genius, but after seeing him fight, she's having doubts. Ling Chen politely agrees to see them later, and the trio finally takes their leave. This moment he's alone, a system window appears. The host is finally ready for ascension. He sits down to begin the process, immediately getting a notification that all his attributes have doubled. He's a little underwhelmed by a simple stat boost until he sees the bonus reward, Cataclysmic Thunderstorm. As he meditates, the sky above him begins to crackle with ominous red energy. As he meditates, a familiar blindfolded elf woman pops in for a friendly chat, and Ling Chen is less than thrilled to learn his grand reward is getting zapped by lightning. She tells him to chill out, explaining this storm vaporizes anything below the 9th tier, but with her help, he can absorb all that destructive energy for a massive power-up. Our boy just smirks, asking if he's supposed to just hug the lightning then. She says there are 3 strikes, and how much power he gets is entirely on him. So he braces himself as the first bolt of pure red energy slams right into him. He can already feel the power surging, way more than his ascension provided alone. His spirit guide just gives him a smug, "I told you so," look, completely unsurprised. Realizing he only caught 1 of 3 bolts, he decides not to waste the others. So he flies straight into the eye of the storm to absorb the rest directly. He plunges right into the swirling vortex of pure destructive energy, letting the raw power completely overwhelm him as he takes every last drop. Unfortunately, the backlash sends him plummeting right out of the sky, and he crashes directly into the city below, causing a pretty sizable explosion. His guide warns him about his greed as he passes out from the overload. Just then, a sword slams down right next to his unconscious body, and a hooded old man, one of Pristine's lackeys, finds him completely defenseless. He immediately orders his men to capture Ling Chen for Lord Pristine, and with our hero out cold, another goon moves in to finish the job. This king stands over his son, blaming his own relentless demands for twisting Pristine into this. And we get a flashback to another king telling him his coronation would have to wait. But Pristine just can't understand why his father won't accept his grand twisted vision. convinced he's the only one willing to be the villain for the sake of a worthy successor. This king, however, is having none of it, declaring his only duty is to save his people now, so Pristine just smirks, promising to make this whole tragedy even more unbearable for everyone, even putting a blade to his own father's throat to make his point. When a familiar voice cuts in, revealing Ling Chen was awake and listening the whole time. With a snap of his fingers, he shatters the illusion, calling Pristine's little plan completely selfish. Pristine absolutely loses it, demanding to know what brilliant alternative Ling Chen has in mind, so our boy points out the obvious. The city's water is contaminated, and Pristine can't fix it. Right on cue, a powerful priestess appears, announcing the plague has been completely cleansed. She reports directly to Ling Chen, thanking Master Zhang for his guidance in purifying the city, which completely stuns Pristine, who recognizes the priestess as someone named Sherry. Turns out, with Ling Chen's guidance, she mastered a holy technique of boundless purification. Ling Chen internally geeks out, realizing she just learned the legendary Radiance technique, while Sherry, completely oblivious, just thinks the name he came up with sounds perfect. Our boy is floored. This S-level magic should take centuries, but she mastered it with a single hint. She humbly gives him all the credit, while he recognizes she's the one with the real talent. Then Sherry turns to Pristine, calling him Alfred, and warns him to stand down or face holy purification. Pristine is still clinging to his delusion, absolutely refusing to admit he was wrong. Ling Chen is completely over it, sarcastically blaming the world before winding up a punch. He delivers a wake-up call straight to the prince's jaw, not holding back at all, which sends the guy flying like a cannonball through the air, slamming him right into a stone wall with a satisfying crunch. In a flash, Ling Chen is right in his face, asking where all that big talk went. But instead of an answer, Pristine starts coughing up some nasty-looking purple gunk, which pools on the ground as he collapses to his knees in a heap. Suddenly, a voice in Ling Chen's head senses a familiar power inside the prince and wants it back. Right on cue, the purple ooze erupts into a massive demon, revealing the Fell Legion leader Loken. This demon apparently knows Ling Chen, commenting on how much stronger he's gotten. This king and Win immediately recognize the Fell Legion's presence, and he orders them to stand down. He warns that Loken thrives on chaos, so a reckless attack is exactly what he wants. This king demands to know how Loken is possessing his son, but the demon just laughs it off. Turns out, manipulating the heir to the throne was his master plan all along. This hits the king hard, realizing his son has been a puppet for who knows how long. Loken admits Pristine is still fighting his influence, but it's time for the next phase anyway. Meanwhile, the real Pristine finally understands the evil was inside him this whole time. Loken turns his attention back to our boy, a new plan clearly forming, and tells Ling Chen he's about to get a permanent dose of that evil energy himself. Loken scoffs at Ling Chen's defiance, but our boy is already charging up some serious green energy. With a smug grin, he crushes the orb of power in his hand, unleashing its full force. This demon recognizes it as ancient dragon power just as his body begins to crack and shatter, and the resulting explosion completely obliterates Loken's physical form in a massive blast. Everyone on the ground can only stare in disbelief at the sheer destructive power on display. Ling Chen, however, isn't impressed, casually stating that a simple show-off and flee tactic won't work. He even calls the Fell Legion's leader disappointingly weak for a supposed final boss. This king approaches, calling him the Divine Messenger, a title Ling Chen has no clue about. Turns out, the king knows this Loken was just a clone, unable to descend in his true form. He still thanks Ling Chen on behalf of the entire empire for saving them from the projection. But Win senses something is wrong. The demon's energy hasn't actually vanished yet. High in the sky, Loken's true essence gathers, mocking his underlings for their incompetence. Ling Chen just cracks his knuckles, happy for the chance to get in some more practice. From the swirling chaos, a new, more powerful demonic form begins to take shape, and Win immediately recognizes the incoming attack as the dreaded Calamity Thunder Vortex. Lord Meyer connects the dots, realizing this is the same power he sensed from the south earlier. With the seal broken, he prepares to unleash his full power, ordering the king to get back. He's not even sure he'll survive, but he asks that the truth of this day be told. Win also tells her father and the old mage to retreat while she prepares a defense. But Ling Chen steps forward, raising his sword to call down his own storm to protect the Empire. Ling Chen just smirks at the swirling demonic energy, practically begging Loken to make a move. But first, he boots Lord Meyer out of the way, telling the old-timer to sit this one out. He stands over the stunned mage, asking if he really thought he was equipped to handle this fight. With the area clear, Ling Chen turns to face the Calamity Thunder Vortex all by himself, leaving Win and Sherry to watch in absolute terror, calling out his name in desperation. But our boy is just bored, complaining that this pathetic storm isn't even worth absorbing. His spirit guide pops in to smugly remind him that this cheap copy is nothing like the real deal. This demon's lightning still lashes out across the plaza, threatening the royal family, when suddenly, the brown-haired kid from the dungeon party leaps in to intercept the attack. He tries to absorb the demonic power, questioning what good it could possibly be, only for it to detonate in a massive, uncontrolled blast that he can't contain. Lord Meyer is thrown back by the shockwave, completely overwhelmed by the chaos. After the dust settles, Ling Chen casually announces the threat is gone and everyone can relax. But just as the king approaches, the exhaustion finally hits and our hero collapses backward. Turns out, absorbing 2 cataclysmic storms in one day has its limits, even for him. Sometime later, Lord Meyer reports to the king that he's brought the Divine Messenger's family, and it's Lisa, the quiet girl from his dungeon party, asking if her brother, Zhang Chen, is safe. This king reassures her that Ling Chen is only sleeping and that he brought them here to be with him. He even promises the full protection of the elite royal guard, which finally puts her at ease. Our hero rests in a royal suite, with the king planning a grand reward for saving the empire when he wakes up. Meanwhile, word on the street is that young Master Jiang is a living legend for saving the empire, and even the royal guards are buzzing, though one of them seems a bit skeptical of the rumors. This believer clenches his fist, insisting that if the priestess Sherry vouches for him, it must be true. And his partner has to agree. Sherry herself credited Ling Chen with stopping the plague. From a balcony above, a smussy-looking swordsman with blue hair eavesdrops on their conversation, deciding he's here to personally test the so-called hero from the Northern Empire. With a cocky grin, he draws his sword, clearly itching for a confrontation, and the guards immediately spot him, shouting about an enemy attack as he makes his move. But the guy is a blur, effortlessly weaving past their spears while calling them pathetic, and in an instant, he's already standing over their defeated bodies, completely unimpressed. He then faces down an entire squad, dismissing them as not even worthy of being guards. Leaping into the air, he unleashes a powerful strike right into the heart of their formation, then stands over the fallen soldiers, hoping Ling Chen isn't as much of a letdown. Just then, Lisa steps in to block his path, warning him not to lay a hand on her brother. This swordsman just scoffs, asking why some random girl is getting in his way, and he warns her to move or get hurt, but she holds her ground, internally panicking. Her eyes narrow as she realizes her body is moving on its own, driven by pure instinct, and in a flash she's right in his face, moving faster than he can even track. He's completely stunned, having no idea how she closed the distance so quickly. As she grabs his arm and unleashes a powerful martial arts technique, catching him off guard, this swordsman just grins, clearly more amused than injured by the surprise attack, as a powerful blow sends him reeling backward with a flash of energy, slamming him into a stone wall while Lisa looks down from above, completely unfazed. He immediately dismisses it, convinced a low-level girl couldn't possibly land a hit like that, and gets to his feet, demanding Ling Chen stop hiding and face him like a man. Lisa, however, calmly takes all the credit, telling the guy to direct any complaints to her fist. This blue-haired challenger is still in denial, asking if she's really the one who hit him. She confirms it was her, though even she's not totally sure how her body did it. Calling her a fool, he gives her one last chance to get out of his way. Then he gets an idea, telling her to hit him again. If she can, he'll leave. She's understandably confused by the request, but he insists he's being serious. Finding the whole situation bizarre, she just shrugs and agrees to his terms. Turns out, he's setting a trap, planning to trace the spiritual energy back to Ling Chen. As she approaches, he focuses his senses, ready to pinpoint the hidden source of power, only for a massive blast to erupt, completely bypassing his detection, and he's left on the ground again, totally baffled that he felt absolutely nothing. She reminds him he asked for this, and suddenly the swordsman seems to understand. He realizes she's using a traceless physical art, not spiritual power, and asks Ling Chen if he's right. Now totally fired up, he demands she hit him again, certain he can expose the trick this time. But Lisa just stares blankly, completely thrown by his sudden request for another beatdown. So, as requested, Lisa delivers another solid punch right to his jaw, sending the blue-haired swordsman crashing into a wall for the third time today. And he's left sitting there, completely unable to figure out how she's doing this, while Lisa herself looks just as confused about her own sudden power-up. But this guy just gets back up, now more obsessed than ever, demanding she hit him again. She's immediately suspicious, wondering if this is just some bizarre way of hitting on her. But he gets right in her face, telling her she's not going anywhere, because now he's determined to solve the mystery of her power, no matter what it takes. Lisa is just about done with this guy's inability to take a hint, so she winds up and decks him again, reminding him her brother is sleeping. This time, the punch sends him blasting off into the sky like a firework, and she just watches him go, casually noting she might have hit him a little too hard. She even opens a portal, musing that she should be more careful not to damage the palace gardens. Right on cue, the king and Lord Meyer arrive on the scene to check on her, and she calmly reports the strange intruder situation, which they already sensed. This king immediately orders Lord Meyer to identify the guy's spiritual signature, who uses a scrying orb to trace the energy back to the Sasor family, a surprising revelation. This king confirms the intruder was after Ling Chen, promising to protect their divine messenger, when Ling Chen himself finally shows up, telling them to please stop calling him that. While the king is taken aback, Lisa is just thrilled to see her brother is finally awake. With the intruder handled, Ling Chen finally gets a moment to sit down with the king, though his main concern is just how much his greedy system costs to level up. So, he hands the king a shopping list, asking for a little royal assistance tracking things down. This king admits that while he'd love to help, a few of these items are impossible to find here. Completely unfazed, Ling Chen just sips his tea and tells him to lay out the problems. Turns out, one item is a prize from a martial arts tournament in the Fenland Kingdom, and the second is a rare dew that only forms under very specific frosty conditions. Lord Meyer points out the real kicker. The tournament and the dew's collection window are simultaneous. Ling Chen realizes this means he'll miss one, unless he can be in two places at once. Right on cue, one of his demon companions appears, and he smirks, thinking her dew is way better anyway. He asks the king about the tournament, who says the winners are usually around the 7th rank. The 7th rank opponent, he thinks with a grin, is practically a walk in the park. With a plan forming, he stands with his companion, thanks the royals, and announces he's heading home. This old mage makes sure to offer his help any time, which Ling Chen casually accepts. Finally free of royal duties, he and his companion are happy to be heading home. His companion is already thinking about food, mentioning that Yaoer is definitely waiting for them. Suddenly, a blindfolded woman appears, asking if he found what he was looking for, and she strikes a pose, smugly declaring that she knew he couldn't do it without her. Ling Chen just grins back, confirming that of course he's counting on her for this. Just then, the silver-haired girl zips off, shouting about an assassin, leaving the other two completely baffled. This assassin is a blindfolded woman with a crown, now chasing Yaoer down with murderous intent. But Ling Chen just tells his other companion to go ahead and handle the situation, as the attacker continues her high-speed pursuit through the woods, absolutely relentless. His companion, however, is confused, asking where the threat is while Yaoer hides in a tree. She winds up a punch anyway, unleashing some kind of divine fist technique, and launches it right at the fleeing girl, who she recognizes as Miss Farong. Farong can only scream as she's caught mid-air by the powerful blast, which sends her rocketing into the sky like a shooting star. His companion urges him to check on her, but Ling Chen casually brushes it off, admitting he's impressed by her top-tier instincts and reflexes. With a grin, he asks if she's confident enough to enter the martial arts tournament in his place. As they approach the estate gates, they're suddenly hit by the delicious smell of barbecue. Turns out it's Farong, happily grilling up skewers like she wasn't just launched into orbit. She's joined by a big dude and a blonde kid who tells her to eat up because there's plenty more. This blonde kid smugly adds that they have so much meat it'll spoil if they don't eat it all. Ling Chen arrives, relieved Farong is fine, but wondering where this new kid even came from. These two guys immediately recognize their young master has finally returned home. This big guy proudly shows off a massive armful of premium-grade meat, offering them some and insisting there's more than enough to go around for everyone. But Farong immediately lays claim to all of it, drooling with pure, unadulterated greed. Ling Chen catches up with his subordinates, who confirm they've heard all about his heroic deeds. This big guy proudly adds they haven't been slacking either, taking out plenty of monsters on their own. This makes Ling Chen wonder why these creatures are even showing up here, but the kid just shrugs it off. He immediately suspects the Evil Energy Legion might be targeting his people as a form of revenge. His men, however, are more concerned with grilling the monster meat, calling it a rare delicacy. Farong, on the other hand, is absolutely disgusted, realizing she's been chowing down on some nasty beast. Ling Chen quickly steps in to reassure her that they wouldn't dare feed her something so gross, but the blonde kid gleefully clarifies he's been serving her his special sandworm recipe instead. And just like that, Farong is on the ground, power-puking a literal rainbow of pure horror. Completely ignoring the mess, Ling Chen changes the subject, asking where his other companions are. This kid reports that one had a breakthrough and is in seclusion, while the other is busy in the dungeon. So if his heavy hitters are out, Ling Chen is confused about who's been handling the monster problem, and his subordinate points to the silver-haired girl, explaining they've been using the techniques she taught them. She confirms they were all eager to learn, so she just let them join her training sessions. With a smug grin, the kid boasts that even a few of her moves are enough to crush their enemies. When Ling Chen asks how many are training, his men immediately beg him not to blame their teacher. But he just smiles, impressed that they can even learn the system's high-requirement techniques. Since they're so capable, he decides to give them the full martial art and take them all to the tournament. His followers are absolutely ecstatic, promising they won't let this incredible opportunity go to waste. With that, the stage is set for a grand tournament in a bustling, unfamiliar city. Ling Chen's crew arrives in the tournament city, and the blonde kid immediately starts trashing the local architecture. Meanwhile, Ling Chen tells his companion to go register, promising to take her to a winter spring afterward. This whole crew makes their way to the registration desk for the big tournament, where Ling Chen presents their official token from the Northern Empire, ready to sign up his stand-in fighter. This registrar is shocked to see the Northern Empire participating, immediately asking for their power level. His companion casually mentions she's probably around the 3rd rank, which is not exactly impressive. This official can't believe it, asking if she's really the contestant, so Ling Chen adds he's only 2nd rank. This guy warns them the tournament doesn't forbid killing, and that a 3rd ranker is basically signing a death warrant. She, however, is completely unfazed by the warning, confirming she's definitely in. Seeing he can't talk them out of it, the official just tells them to be at the arena in 3 days. With registration handled, Ling Chen tells the group to chill for a few days while he takes care of business. His 2 subordinates eagerly volunteer for bodyguard duty, promising to protect the young miss. And with a quick farewell, Ling Chen just teleports away, leaving a crack in the pavement. This blonde kid is left wondering when he'll be that cool, but his buddy just tells him to train harder. But just as they're about to relax, the big guy's senses go off. They're not alone. A squad of masked swordsmen suddenly drops down from the rooftops, blades drawn, and in seconds, the whole crew is completely surrounded by these mysterious assassins. Turns out this whole dramatic entrance was just for a good old-fashioned mugging. This big guy just stares the leader down, completely unimpressed by the threat, and for his trouble, the mugger is instantly taken out by a lightning-fast strike. This blonde kid is amazed at his buddy's new strength, but the big guy didn't even throw a punch, and neither did the silver-haired girl, leaving everyone wondering who actually handled the muggers. When a red-haired noble with a golden trident strolls up, announcing he's here for the tournament, he smoothly apologizes for the local ruffians, trying to make a good first impression on the crew. When asked if he's the one who took care of them, he just calls it taking out the trash. He introduces himself as Agus, a local from the Fenlin Kingdom and another tournament contestant. With a suspiciously friendly smile, he invites the whole crew to stay at his estate to prepare. Even his own companion shows up to tease him for trying to bring strangers home so quickly. This blonde kid's instincts are screaming, telling the others this guy is way too shady to trust. But the big guy just shrugs, figuring they're going to be targeted no matter where they stay. He argues it's better to fight from a comfortable spot than some random inn, which is fair. Agus seals the deal by promising access to his personal chefs and the best local food. With the foodies on board, the silver-haired girl gives the final okay to accept his offer. Looking incredibly pleased with himself, Agus offers to lead them to his humble abode, which of course turns out to be a ridiculously lavish mansion fit for a king. Elsewhere, a butler asks his young master how his trip to the Northern Empire went, and it's the blue-haired swordsman who bitterly complains the whole thing was a complete waste of time. His butler reports the Agus family wants to discuss the tournament, which now has a secret realm attached. That little tidbit finally gets the swordsman's attention, a flicker of interest crossing his face. He confirms it's the legendary Von Sea, a place that only opens up once every 100 years. His butler confirms the Northern Empire sent a team since the winner gets into the Von Sea. This swordsman is ecstatic, realizing his rival is also here to compete for the prize. With a predatory grin, he decides it's time to go meet these newcomers at Agus's estate. Back at the mansion, the blonde kid is stunned by just how many contestants are gathered. Agus explains they're all guests from various nations, inviting the crew to enjoy the party. This big is already drooling over a roasted bird, completely sold on the free food. Suddenly, a bald dude with an eye patch makes a dramatic entrance from the floor above. Agus is less than thrilled by the interruption, asking what his brother wants now. This newcomer accuses Agus of trying to hoard all the fat sheep for himself, which leaves Ling Chen's crew wondering who this guy is and what he's talking about. Agus calmly reveals the real prize. The top 30 fighters get into the Von Sea secret realm. This blonde kid explains it's a legendary place that only opens once a century, full of treasures. This bald guy smirks, declaring he won't let any weakling trash get lucky and sneak inside. Of course, some random hothead immediately steps up to challenge his right to decide that. This guy gets right in his face, questioning if he has the strength to back up his big talk, and is immediately shut down by a single, effortless block and counterpunch. Holding the chump by his collar, the bald dude mocks him for being too weak for the prelims. He calls the weaker contestants an insult to the secret realm just for being there. Agus's companion tries to calm the situation, telling the guy to cool his jets. But Agus just grins, agreeing with the sentiment and proposing a little elimination round right now. He suggests anyone too weak should just hand over their qualifications to someone more suitable. A few of the other guests are absolutely livid, realizing they've been played by their host. With the flick of his finger, Agus sends a tiny energy blast at one of the guys trying to leave, who gets hit by two massive energy waves, stopping him dead in his tracks. This guy collapses, stunned that Agus would attack him for just trying to walk away. Agus just grins, explaining he's doing them a favor since the tournament is full of killers. He then throws down an open challenge, asking who wants to try and take him on. Ling Chen's crew just watches the drama unfold, completely unfazed by the sudden hostility. This other contestants are terrified, realizing Agus is at least an 8th rank powerhouse. Seeing no one step up, he smugly tells them all to just hand over their entry tokens. But just then, the big guy from Ling Chen's team cracks his knuckles, ready to go. He steps forward to represent the Northern Empire, accepting the challenge with a grin. Agus scoffs at the 5th ranker, asking if he's got some kind of death wish. Without another word, the big guy unleashes a windblade technique and charges right in. This attack connects, sending a massive shockwave of energy blasting through the mansion. This blonde kid is horrified, realizing that was a full-power 8th rank counterattack. But the silver-haired girl just tells him to relax, completely confident in her student's durability. Sure enough, the big guy is just casually embedded in the wall, admitting this opponent is too much. He concedes the match, saying any more fighting would just interfere with his training. Agus is confused by the retreat, but his bald brother points out he didn't hold back at all. This bald dude is genuinely confused. A 5th ranker should be toast after that hit, not just fine. All the other contestants are just as baffled, realizing the Northern Empire isn't the joke they thought it was. This big guy just dusts himself off and apologizes to his teacher for the poor showing. His blonde buddy doesn't get it, asking why he tapped out when their sparring is way rougher. Turns out Agus's attack had a nasty hidden energy spike, so the big guy wisely decided to quit while he was ahead. Hearing that, the blonde kid cracks his knuckles, deciding it's his turn to play. He steps up to Agus, who just scoffs at the even weaker 4th ranker challenging him. Without a word, the kid lunges forward, but Agus just casually blocks the attack with his trident, who then gives him a smug little grin, telling him not to get ahead of himself. This resulting clash is massive, with Agus promising to break the kid's arm as a welcome present. But the attack is stopped cold, the kid's fist meeting the unmoving trident. Now the crowd is really losing it, wondering how the Northern Empire has 2 guys who can fight an 8th ranker. This blonde kid reveals he used a 2-stage technique to nullify the hidden energy, all thanks to his buddy's warning. This completely floors Agus, who recognizes it as an incredibly rare and advanced skill. At that moment, his bald brother strolls over, demanding to know what's going on. He accuses Agus of faking the fight to conserve energy while everyone else gets worn down. Agus, with a look of pure annoyance, just calls him a complete moron. He insists he wasn't holding back and tells his brother to fight the kid himself if he's so skeptical. So the bald guy steps in, ready to take over the fight, and the kid seems perfectly fine with the swap. And just like that, the new battle kicks off with a flurry of energy-infused punches. This bald dude is completely stunned, wondering how this kid is still standing after their exchange. Spitting blood, the blonde kid just winds up for another punch, completely undeterred. Fed up, the bald guy charges a massive fire attack, ready to end this nonsense for good. and with a roar, he brings the attack down hard, slamming the kid straight into the floor. His teacher rushes over to check on him, but the kid insists he's fine, just a little roughed up. Getting to his feet, the kid calls it quits, admitting he's completely outmatched. And of course, the bald dude starts gloating about his glorious victory, as if it was ever in doubt. Aegis, however, is not impressed, asking his brother what exactly he's celebrating. He points out that it took 13 whole punches to beat a 4th ranker, which is frankly pathetic. That reality check hits hard as he stares at the crew, wondering how they're so tough. Seeing his chance, Aegis steps forward and offers a very formal apology for his rudeness. He declares that their family has proven its strength and is worthy of his respect. This blonde kid immediately brightens up, asking if this means they get to keep their spots in the tournament. Aegis just gives a smug smile, telling them to take it how they want before ordering his men to move. Suddenly, a squad of assassins wielding strange purple energy weapons materializes out of nowhere, who immediately launch a volley of spinning blades right at the unsuspecting guests. Aegis watches with a smirk, commenting that their little group is full of hidden masters, and it clicks. These are the same ruffians from the street, leaving the crew furious at Aegis's deception. He explains that if they were just some random weaklings, he'd have let them leave after taking their tokens. But now that they've shown their potential and have no powerful backing, they've become a threat he has to eliminate. Aegis just smirks, wondering why he should even bother waiting to start the slaughter. One of the other contestants finally puts it all together. The street attack was just a performance. Now, the red-haired noble stands before the remaining fighters, ready to clean house for good. His assassins get right to it, telling one guy he's figured it out just in time to die. And with a single brutal slash, the first victim of the party goes down hard. This other guests are in total despair, realizing they're way too weak to fight a monster like Aegis. But then someone points out something strange. The assassins are suddenly attacking each other. One of the goons gets a blade in the back from his own teammate, completely stunned by the betrayal. This attacker is just as confused, insisting he was aiming for one of the guests. In seconds, the entire assassin squad is in chaos, getting tossed around the room. Turns out, a new burly dude is behind it all, calling them trash unworthy of his lady. He unleashes a wave of pink, heart-filled energy, a charm spell that turns enemies into allies. Even Aegis's own men are affected, now charging their boss while screaming about their queen, who, completely unimpressed, just swats one of his newly infatuated minions into the floor. His bald brother is just staring, wondering if everyone has collectively lost their minds. But Aegis recognizes the technique as a powerful charm spell that almost got him, too. His brother's eyes light up, already thinking about the powerful skills they can steal from this new group. These two brothers finally get serious, preparing to take on this unexpected challenge together. This burly charmer tells his companions to fall back, putting up a shield to hold the line. With a massive explosion, the two sides collide, blowing a hole right through the mansion floor. This explosion of energy attracts a new blue-haired swordsman who's just thrilled to see a party. Aegis immediately recognizes as an 8th ranker from the Sandstone Whale family, who lands and immediately calls out for his rival, Zhang Chen, demanding a rematch. With a sly grin, Aegis says he's also looking for the Zhang family and points them out. This swordsman confronts the silver-haired teacher, demanding to know where her brother is, but she says he's not here. He presses on, asking if she's the one from the Zhang family competing, leaving her completely flustered. Realizing his rival is a no-show, the swordsman is furious he wasted a trip for nothing. Aegis steps in, telling the newcomer to stay out of it, claiming his beef with the Zhang family is personal. This enrages the big guy, who calls out Aegis for trying to steal their tokens and then kill them. This other guests are suddenly filled with hope, thinking they've finally found a powerful ally. Turning to Aegis, the swordsman asks if the big guy's accusations are true, and Aegis just admits it, explaining he wants to kill them to absorb their unique skills. He even offers to share the spoils if the swordsman helps, promising it'll lure out Jiang Chen. This swordsman actually seems to be considering this incredibly scummy deal. He agrees to join the fight since he has his own score to settle with this Jiang Chen guy. Aegis is absolutely delighted, realizing he's just recruited another powerhouse to his side. With a roar, he orders his new combined force to attack all at once. While the teacher clarifies she doesn't really know this guy, she just beat him up once before. This swordsman immediately proves his worth, throwing up a massive sand wall to block an attack. Now fighting together, the two powerhouses prepare to wipe out everyone left in the room. But the swordsman suddenly turns on his new ally, blocking the attack and demanding an explanation, clarifying that while he will fight Jiang Chen, he's not about to stoop to these scummy tactics. He tells the other guests to make a run for it while he holds off Aegis and his crew, making it clear he's not doing it for them. He just wants his rival all to himself. Unfortunately, his heroic sand wall is also blocking the very people he's trying to save. So the teacher just brushes it aside, telling everyone to hurry up and get moving. Aegis's bald brother isn't having it, declaring that no one is leaving this party alive. He launches a flurry of attacks from the air, trying to pin down the escaping contestants. This big guy just tells his teacher to ignore the dust cloud and make a break for it. Seeing this, the swordsman commands his sand to form a protective barrier for them. And with their path cleared, the remaining guests finally manage to flee the mansion. Aegis isn't concerned, telling the teacher it's too late for her to run now. He charges up his trident, ready to unleash a devastating attack right at her, and the swordsman immediately recognizes this is a serious full-power strike. But the teacher fires back with a massive energy blast of her own, and as the two attacks hurtle towards each other, her student yells for her to be careful. For a split second, she looks a little panicked, wondering how she's going to handle this, before throwing up a powerful green energy shield just in the nick of time. Agus's trident blast slams into the barrier with incredible force, leaving him completely stunned that she was able to block it at all. Agus gets absolutely rocked by the teacher's counterattack, his smug look finally wiped off his face, and the blast sends him flying across the room like a rag doll. As her team makes a run for it, the teacher just shrugs off the praise, saying she didn't do much. But a new challenger appears, a shady guy in a trench coat warning them about a weakness from behind, before launching his own nasty-looking red energy attack right at the group. This teacher, however, is sitting at a table completely unbothered, claiming her lava will melt everything. Just as she says that, the incoming attack shatters into a million pieces, and the entire volley gets reflected right back at its very surprised owner. He gets skewered by his own power, clearly not expecting a full-on Uno reverse card. This blue-haired swordsman just watches, wondering how on earth she managed to do that. He starts rationalizing that even he couldn't take on both brothers, so she must have just been lucky. Or maybe their powers just happened to perfectly cancel each other out in the chaos. With a confident smirk, he decides that's definitely the only logical explanation for what he just saw. Now, playing the hero, he asks the teacher if she's okay and offers to escort her out. But really, he just wants her to tell Jiang Chen that he still owes him a fight. Finding his obsession with her brother a little weird, she just tells her crew it's time to go. Agus's brother panics, warning that if they escape, their family's reputation is toast. Agus, however, just grins through the pain, promising that his targets aren't going anywhere. Meanwhile, in a completely different, serene and snowy landscape, a new guy with a red eye is collecting ingredients, saying he only needs a single drop. This red-eyed dude is having a complete meltdown over his failed ingredient hunt. In fact, he's losing his entire mind over it, screaming into the frozen void. Turns out he spent days trying to collect a single drop of something and has come up completely empty-handed. He's been so careful he hasn't even moved the little blood bug he's been feeding, all for nothing. Fed up with the lack of cooperation, he decides if the mountain won't give, he'll just take. So he starts powering up a massive magic circle, ready to do something incredibly drastic, unleashing a shockwave that shatters the very ground beneath his feet. His brilliant new plan is to just move the entire ice mountain to get what he wants. With a massive surge of energy, he prepares to literally reshape the landscape for a single drop. But then a random blonde lady appears on his shoulder, complaining it's cold and demanding a foot warmer. He just tells her to hold on, promising he's almost done with his very important task. Just as she floats off, a shadowy monster lunges at him from behind, zapping him with a jolt of energy that actually seems to hurt a little. Except the monster is just this tiny, fluffy, incredibly nervous-looking yeti. Our guy turns around, completely unimpressed and asking if another monster has gotten lost. He snatches the little guy up, wondering how to best take out his bad mood on it. Suddenly, a green-haired woman with horns appears, telling him to put her friend down. She explains that this little fluffball is the spirit of the valley he's trying to destroy. He couldn't care less about some spirit, demanding she explain why he can't get his ingredient. This spirit guardian just pets the little guy, who seems to be telling her the whole story. This spirit guardian explains that his whole tantrum was for nothing. Someone already stole the ice crystal's tear. He's absolutely livid, demanding to know who snatched the very ingredient he's been hunting for days. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, a massive wave of ice energy suddenly floods the entire area, catching the blue-haired swordsman completely off guard as he recognizes it as a god-tier power. In a flash, the entire estate begins to freeze over, encased in a crystalline prison. Turns out a new white-haired powerhouse is the source, deciding he can no longer stay hidden. He looks down on Agus, demanding a very good reason why he shouldn't just end him right now. Agus, looking pretty rough, insists he didn't call for backup out of weakness, but because he found a prize. He points out the teacher, claiming she possesses a legendary lost martial art that's incredibly valuable. This new ice master seems intrigued, telling Agus to spill all the juicy details. Agus describes it as a formless technique, allowing for insane power output from a completely relaxed state. He claims that with this skill, his boss would be practically unmatched on the entire continent. This ice master just scoffs, thinking his subordinate's plan sounds a little too simple to be true. After all, his god-level domain has its own set of absolute rules, trapping everyone inside his ice. He points out that mere martial arts are useless inside his territory, and Agus quickly backpedals. Still, he considers the possibility, wondering if this formless art might have some other hidden use. But just then, a massive blade of golden sand slices right through his supposedly unbreakable ice, which he immediately recognizes as a signature technique from the sandstone whale family. Now genuinely interested, he smirks and condescendingly grants the swordsman permission to speak. This swordsman, completely unfazed, just wonders how long it'll take to deal with this new god-tier opponent. This swordsman, now trapped in a block of ice, tries to bargain for the teacher's life. But the Ice Master just scoffs, completely unimpressed by the Sandstone Whale family name. He offers to spare the swordsman, but declares everyone else is going to die here today. When suddenly, a new guy shatters the ice just by walking into the room. And it's none other than Jiang Chen, who casually complains about the sudden drop in temperature. He strolls in, sarcastically noting that it's rude to start such a big family party without him. This Ice Master is completely stunned, demanding to know how anyone could just walk through his ice storm. He immediately accuses Jiang Chen of holding the ice crystal's source and demands he hand it over. His sister, the teacher, quickly warns him to be careful, pointing out how powerful this new enemy is. From his frozen prison, the blue-haired swordsman finally realizes this is his long-sought-after rival. Jiang Chen ignites with a fiery aura, absolutely furious that someone used his sister as a hostage. This Ice Master counters with his own power, and their opposing elements clash violently in the hall. All the other contestants are caught right in the middle, trapped between the raging fire and ice. As Jiang Chen sizes him up, the Ice Master summons two massive ice beasts to join the fight. One of the crystalline monsters lunges forward, ready to crush Jiang Chen in its jaws, and the remaining guests are pretty sure this is the end, completely surrounded by the icy constructs. But with a massive shockwave, the entire battlefield erupts in a flash of light, leaving the onlookers completely stunned as the ice beasts begin to shatter into pieces. This Ice Master can't believe it, realizing Jiang Chen is a dual wielder of both fire and ice. Jiang Chen just smirks, having tamed one of the beasts, asking if ice might work better. This Ice Master gloats that with the ice crystal source, he could become a god in a few decades. But Jiang Chen just turns his back, casually stating he has no need for such a thing. Absolutely furious, the Ice Master unleashes his ultimate move, the Absolute Zero Domain, completely encasing Jiang Chen in a vortex of ice, certain he's already won. With a smug grin, he forms an ice blade, ready to finish this once and for all. Jiang Chen, however, just puts a finger to his lips, telling him he's being a little too loud. This Ice Master is completely floored as Jiang Chen offers to show him what real cold sounds like. In an instant, the Master's own body starts to crack and freeze over from the inside out. His entire domain shatters as a far superior ice power completely overwhelms his own, sending him into a panic as he feels his blood, thoughts, and spirit crystallizing. He lets out one final agonizing scream as his body is completely consumed by the ice. Meanwhile, Jiang Chen explains that true cold is something that can freeze the very soul. With his opponent now a permanent art installation, our boy reveals he's already taken the prize. He then gives a dismissive wave, telling the frozen statue to just go away already. And with that, the entire crystalline figure shatters into a million glittering pieces. A spectral projection of the Ice Master appears in the sky, vowing revenge for his destroyed clone. Jiang Chen is thoroughly unimpressed, telling him to stop sending copies and fight for real. Still trapped, the blue-haired swordsman is having a crisis, realizing Jiang Chen just beat a god-tier clone. His sister rushes into his arms, just relieved that her brother is finally here and safe. Jiang Chen just comforts her, telling her not to worry now that he's taken care of things. This blue-haired swordsman scoffs, thinking that for all her power, she's still just a little girl. But Jiang Chen's sister is genuinely scared, telling him she feels a strange force trying to control her body. He realizes she wasn't afraid of the god-tier clone at all, just this weird internal power surge. His sister then helpfully points out the swordsman, reminding Jiang Chen this is the guy who wants to fight. Jiang Chen's protective instincts flare up as he asks if this guy was also giving her trouble. This swordsman immediately starts sweating, realizing he's been horribly misunderstood by an absolute monster. Jiang Chen asks if this new guy is scarier than the Ice Master, but his sister just says he protected them. With the main event over, our boy turns to the swordsman, offering to finally give him that duel. This swordsman wisely declines, claiming he's busy preparing for a tournament and can't possibly fight now. Walking away, he's just relieved he didn't accidentally make an enemy of the entire Jiang family. But he stops, noticing something off about Jiang Chen's power and needing to confirm a theory. So he turns around and makes the perfectly normal request for the teacher to hit him, just once. She is more than happy to oblige, delivering a swift kick right to his jaw, which sends him crashing to the ground in a rather undignified heap. Meanwhile, in a vast snowy expanse, Jiang Chen confirms this is the power he was after. He holds up the ice crystal source, announcing that he's successfully retrieved it. At that moment, the little Yeti from before pops up, asking if it can finally get its frost back. This tiny spirit stomps forward, looking surprisingly determined for a little fluff ball. It then strikes a dramatic pose, ready to reclaim the treasure of its valley, giving Jiang Chen a look that says it means serious, frosty business. Jiang Chen just stares, completely baffled as the tiny Yeti demands its property back. He immediately grabs the fluff ball by the cheeks, warning it not to try and pull a fast one. But the spirit guardian reappears, explaining the ice crystal's source has been polluted and is useless now. Jiang Chen looks thoroughly annoyed, asking what exactly he's supposed to do with this corrupted junk. She reveals the pollution comes from an eternal sacrifice altar buried deep beneath the mountain. Meanwhile, back at his evil lair, the real Ice Master is having a very, very bad night. He's absolutely seething on his throne, furious that someone dared to destroy his precious clone. Turns out his grand plan required years of sacrifices, and he just needs the blood of the final contestants. A red-haired subordinate rushes in, checking to see if his patriarch is alright after the backlash. This patriarch offers him a deal: succeed in a mission, and he'll grant him a massive power-up. His subordinate calmly accepts, ready to hear whatever deranged plan his boss has cooked up this time. This order is simple: use the Secret Realm's traps to eliminate all the tournament contestants tomorrow. His subordinate asks about restrictions, but the patriarch reveals the whole realm opening was a lie to lure victims. Once he sacrifices all these geniuses, he'll awaken a divine power and become unstoppable. This red-haired guy has a sudden, horrifying realization. He's also a contestant, meaning he's on the menu too. This patriarch smoothly reassures him, claiming he'd never harm his own kin and just wanted to protect the plan. He leans in with some greater manipulation, saying this proves he's his most trusted man, and his subordinate completely buys it, pledging to die for his master's glorious cause. With his minion properly motivated, the patriarch vows to turn Jiang Chen's home into a frozen tomb. Back on the mountain, Jiang Chen has carved a massive ice slab, asking the little spirit if this will do. Jiang Chen places his hand on the massive ice slab he carved, hoping this is a good enough replacement, when suddenly a colossal spire of ice energy erupts from the mountain, signaling a major major event, and he's instantly transported into a strange icy dimension with the corrupted crystal. With a determined look, he decides to use this moment to understand the true nature of ice. A mysterious voice tells him his spiritual power has just been unlocked 13 years ahead of schedule. And with another flash of light, he's sent on his way to a new destination. He arrives in a grand hall where the voice warns him that he's the only flaw in an upcoming storm. Meanwhile, all the tournament contestants have been gathered, wondering why they're here since only the top 30 qualified. Everyone is confused, realizing the rules have been completely thrown out the window. This red-haired subordinate, now acting as an examiner, addresses the crowd with a prepared speech. He announces that as compensation for the earlier trouble, the secret realm is now open to all contestants. This crowd absolutely erupts, thinking they've just been handed a golden ticket for free treasure. Of course, the subordinate is just thinking how perfectly his master's plan is falling into place. This ice master confirms via telepathy that this entire realm is just a giant death trap he personally designed. He even points out a specific fake path that leads directly into a corridor of suspended ice chains. All his subordinate has to do is gently guide the contestants into the various traps to be sacrificed. But as the contestants venture forth, massive ice spikes suddenly erupt from the ground, blocking the way, which catches the red-haired subordinate completely off guard, as this wasn't part of the plan. This trapped contestants now hesitate, realizing this treasure hunt might be a little too dangerous. Elsewhere, a silver-haired girl casually touches an ice wall, claiming she's just scouting the path ahead. This red-haired subordinate reports back to his master that the silver-haired girl just casually disabled their trap. He recognizes her as a member of the Zhang family and suggests they just eliminate her now. But the patriarch scoffs, telling him he's not nearly strong enough and there are plenty more traps to come. His minion has no choice but to agree, understanding his place in the grand, evil scheme. This ice master monologues that once his body is repaired, he'll absorb the power of the winter god himself. Back in the maze, the blue-haired swordsman asks the silver-haired girl why she'd risk coming in here. She explains that she made a promise to her brother to place in the top 5 of the tournament. He tries to reassure her, claiming his family's reputation should be enough to protect them both. She gives him a sly smile, admitting he's actually a pretty decent guy, which gets him all flustered as she leads him further into the labyrinth for an information exchange. Elsewhere, Zhang Chen lets out a massive sneeze, probably because someone is plotting against his family again. He's been wandering all night and is getting seriously annoyed by the riddle master at the entrance. Our boy finally snaps, asking his little Yeti guide if it has any clue where the altar actually is. He then threatens to turn the little fluffball into a desperately needed winter coat, and that's all the motivation the terrified spirit needs to finally point out the right way. Trusting his guide one last time, Zhang Chen smashes right through the indicated ice wall. In a completely different realm, a crowned woman states that if the mission fails, they'll be stuck at the second stage. Zhang Chen emerges into a vast cavern, only to be met by a colossal, shadowy serpent. This beast's eyes flare to life, surprised to find a human with such a potent spiritual aura, and it immediately announces that this powerful little snack is now on the menu. Zhang Chen faces down the lunging ice serpent, completely unfazed by the massive beast. He casually stops its charge with one hand, asking where he can find the eternal sacrifice altar. Instead of answering, the serpent just calls for backup, summoning a massive ice wolf to the party. This new wolf beast immediately charges forward, ready to turn Zhang Chen into a frozen popsicle, unleashing a massive wave of ice spikes that completely engulfs our boy's position. These two beasts start bickering over who gets to eat him, complaining that humans are a rare treat. But Zhang Chen is perfectly fine inside an ice shield, pointing out he just wanted directions before they attacked. Both guardians are completely stunned, unable to believe a mere human survived their assault. With his patience wearing thin, he gives them one last chance to tell him where the altar is. This wolf just laughs, mocking him for not even knowing who he's messing with. Turns out, they're guardians of the winter god's realm, and all humans are just sacrifices. This serpent smugly informs him that he stumbled into their personal ice nest, which is very bad news for him. One of the smaller minions even offers to eat him quickly if he just gives up now. Zhang Chen responds by calmly putting his hands together, as if in prayer. This just makes the wolf laugh harder, mocking what it thinks is a pathetic human plea for mercy. With a sinister grin, Zhang Chen claims he's a kind-hearted animal lover, which is obviously a lie. And in the next instant, he's effortlessly stopped the wolf's attack with his bare hands. He then snaps off one of its horns, offering it back as a handy tool for scratching itches. Using the horn as a makeshift blade, he delivers a devastating slash across the beast's chest. This wolf goes flying into an ice wall, leaving Zhang Chen to face the now very concerned serpent. This once mighty wolf is now pathetically begging for its life on the icy floor, as Zhang Chen casually pins its head to the ground with his foot. He then sits on the beast like a throne, saying he much preferred its earlier confidence. Watching this, the serpent realizes this human is a serious problem and suggests they should probably run. But the wolf tells its partner to calm down, claiming it's figured out a weakness. It rationalizes that Zhang Chen is only strong because he's using its own horn as a weapon. A weapon that was the wolf's most powerful part, so of course it lost the first round. This serpent completely buys this logic, convinced a human body is too weak to fight them otherwise. So the wolf cooks up a new plan. Just get the horn back, and victory is practically guaranteed. With the serpent and its minions offering backup, the wolf prepares to charge in for round 2. It lunges forward with a mighty roar, while Zhang Chen leaps into the air to meet the attack. thinking it can outsmart him with a feint and a surprise strike from below. Zhang Chen, however, looks completely bored by this incredibly predictable maneuver. He lands right on its back, pinning the beast before it can even react. This wolf still tries to bite, vowing to at least take off one of his legs, only for Zhang Chen to instantly freeze its entire jaw completely shut. Now sitting on it again, he sarcastically asks if it's trying to become his new loyal dog. He then offers to remove the ice if it just tells him where the altar is. In response, the terrified wolf just starts smashing its head against an ice wall to escape. Zhang Chen watches this display with a smirk, admitting he might have overdone it a little. Zhang Chen casually asks the remaining beasts if anyone else wants to try their luck, which sends the serpent into a full-blown panic, screaming for its minions to retreat. With a completely bored expression, our boy just asks them what the big rush is. This wolf pinned under his foot finally realizes it wasn't just the horn that beat him. Elsewhere in the trap, two other contestants are facing down a colossal ice golem, and one of them is shocked to find the monster can perfectly copy his abilities. His partner is even more confused since the golem is spamming a move he can only use 3 times. Watching from afar, the red-haired subordinate wonders why their spiritual energy isn't draining at all. He smugly concludes they should just give up and become sacrifices for the Patriarch's grand plan. These two fighters are clearly exhausted, believing this is the end of the line for them. Back in the cavern, the serpent and its crew are suddenly getting blasted by a mysterious force. The smaller beasts scatter in terror, not wanting to get vaporized by this new threat. It's the little Yeti spirit who bravely stands its ground against the massive serpent. A much larger ice monster then emerges, warning that they're all in serious trouble now. It suggests a simple solution. Just go find the other humans and eat them to recharge. This subordinate reports this new beast swarm to his master, asking if this was part of the trap. This patriarch seems irritated, clarifying if he means the legendary icebound beasts. Then he starts laughing on his throne, having put all the pieces together. Turns out his own power is awakening the winter god's bone, opening the realm ahead of schedule. He orders his subordinate to stop the beast from eating the contestants, leaving the guy utterly confused. This subordinate gets the new memo. The sacrifices have to die by his hand, not become beast food. Meanwhile, the ice monsters are still eyeing the contestants, but the serpent warns them about Zhang Chen's return. One of the brutes ignores the warning, smashing the ground to corner the two remaining fighters. It stares them down, absolutely determined to get a fresh human meal after all this waiting. This beast unleashes a massive blast of ice energy, ready to finish them off. But the red-haired subordinate suddenly appears, blocking the attack with his staff. He immediately reports to his master that these things are way too strong for him to handle alone. This patriarch just calls him useless, ordering him to use his own life force to hold them back. With a new sense of grim purpose, the subordinate vows to become a human shield for the contestants. His heroic stand lasts all of 2 seconds before the monster smacks him into next week. He goes flying across the ice, completely outmatched by the beast's raw power. Despite the hit, he tries to twist his body to absorb the impact, but it's not looking good. This monster follows up with another brutal punch, slamming him right into the ground. Now totally wrecked, he pathetically tells his master he's really trying his best. This beast just grabs him and another contestant, promising to eat them both for being so annoying. Pinned and helpless, the subordinate realizes this is probably the end of his evil career. But just then, a massive beam of energy vaporizes the monster's attack from above. This subordinate looks up to see his savior, who casually notes his own safe landing. It's Zhang Chen, who almost forgot there were a couple more people to rescue here. He stands over the two exhausted contestants, having saved them from becoming monster chow. This red-haired subordinate is still trying to process how he went from hero to floor mat in 2 seconds flat, while the two guys he saved are just confused about being suddenly trapped inside an ice fortress. They thank Zhang Chen for the rescue, but he's already moved on, asking where the ice monsters went. One of them points the way, so Zhang Chen tells them to go hide, since they're clearly not built for this. And with that, our boy just strolls off, leaving the 3 of them to figure out their next move. These 2 contestants decide to help the injured subordinate, who's putting on a real good damsel in distress act. He spins a tale about being an examiner sent to protect them, a lie so bold you almost have to respect it. Unfortunately for him, one of the guys recognizes him as the patriarch's minion, blowing his cover completely. So the subordinate's immediate reaction is to pull a knife, because subtlety is clearly not his strong suit. This brilliant move earns him a swift beatdown from the 2 guys he was just trying to manipulate. He tries to plead his case while getting absolutely rocked by a flurry of well-deserved punches. As the contestants grab an ice shard, deciding he's just another villain after some treasure, this guy winds up for a big swing with the ice shard, ready to deliver some cold justice, and just plops it on the subordinate's head like a dunce cap, which is somehow even more humiliating. Elsewhere, the giant ice serpent is making a beeline for the main ice palace, trying to escape. It can feel Zhang Chen's aura getting closer, realizing it's only a matter of time before he catches up. Panicked, it creates an ice bridge to cross a massive gap, hoping to throw him off the trail. It then tries to camouflage itself against the palace wall, convinced its hiding spot is foolproof. At that exact moment, a new group of contestants arrives and spots what looks like treasure on the stairs. Their leader is all for investigating, though one of his smarter teammates warns that it could be an ambush. This leader of this new group holds down the patriarch's subordinate, offering him up as a test subject. He then hurls the poor guy towards the massive ice structure, saying he's a gift for the others. Since the guy has some nerve, the leader figures he's the perfect volunteer for whatever lies ahead. This subordinate hurtles towards the ice, about to become a very unwilling key to the next area. And with a massive crash, he smashes right into the wall, revealing a hidden passage. This contestants inside are drawn to the commotion, wondering what that massive energy signature is. It turns out to be a colossal ice monument, a stone tablet jutting out from the ground. Immediately assuming there's treasure, the whole crew makes a mad dash up the stairs to claim it. This is terrible news for the serpent, whose foolproof hiding spot is now the main attraction. They discover it's the winter god Steli, which promises a treasure and a talent evaluation. This mustached leader explains that if their combined talent score is high enough, it'll summon the winter god's soul. This others are immediately hooked by the idea of becoming a god, ready to see who's worthy. Meanwhile, the serpent is having a full-blown panic attack, realizing it's trapped with them. It tries to calm itself down, convinced these weaklings could never actually summon the god anyway. This first guy to try gets his results, a talent value of 10, which is just embarrassing. Everyone else roasts him for the pathetic score, wondering how they'll ever reach the target number. Not discouraged, the guy with the ridiculous hair steps up to add his own power to the mix. But even with everyone pitching in, their combined score is laughably low, barely making a dent. Just then, another group arrives on the scene, wondering what this whole gathering is about. This mustached leader just tells the new blue-haired guy to stop asking questions and test his own talent. This blue-haired guy steps up and scores a respectable 10,000, giving the group a glimmer of hope. His buddy calculates they just need 9 more people like him, immediately pushing a silver-haired woman to try next. She plays it coy, acting like she's not nearly strong enough for this kind of test. And after a moment of awkward silence, it seems her score is a big fat 0. But then the entire monument starts to crack apart, much to everyone's surprise, revealing a golden armored guardian who's been waiting 1,000 years for this very moment. It announces someone's talent value just broke 100,000 and graciously permits them to kneel. Turns out it wasn't the blue-haired guy. The woman's score was so high it just broke the machine. This guardian silences her, declaring she is the chosen master of the ice spirits, no questions asked. It then offers her a crown of ice, promising her the power to freeze the entire world as a new god. She just looks at it and politely asks if she can say no, leaving the guardian utterly speechless. It's completely baffled, unable to process someone refusing its divine gift. Her teammates are just as shocked, wondering if she's completely lost her mind. She explains that being a god sounds like way too much hassle, with all the rules and dietary restrictions. This guardian is absolutely losing it over the fact that she's turning down godhood because it's inconvenient. Meanwhile, the other guys are already volunteering to take her place, promising they're not nearly as high maintenance. This ultimate disrespect sends the Guardian into a full-blown rage, blasting them with a wave of pure ice energy. It towers over them, commanding the ignorant ants to repent for their insolence. At that exact moment, Zhang Chen strolls in, casually wondering if this new guy is really all that tough. This Guardian whips around, its eyes glowing with fury, ready to obliterate the newcomer. Zhang Chen just scoffs that plenty of people would kill to be a god, so it should just pick one of them, which makes the Guardian realize our boy's talent is somehow even more ridiculous than the woman's. But Zhang Chen immediately shuts that down too, clarifying he has zero interest in becoming a god. He complains that the whole deal sounds like a terrible job, even worse than working in a factory. This double dose of disrespect finally sends the Golden Guardian into a full-blown tantrum, and it powers up, promising to teach these mortals a lesson in divine punishment, summoning a massive orb of energy to suppress the entire area under its absolute control. It explains its power isn't just ice, it's erasing the very concept of flame from existence. And with that, the very idea of fire is snuffed out by its overwhelming cold energy, before it declares their time is up, trapping them in a frozen future for all eternity. This silver-haired woman is immediately caught in the attack, aging rapidly inside an ice crystal. But the Guardian is suddenly distracted by a flicker of fire that shouldn't even be possible anymore, because Zhang Chen is just standing there, casually holding a black flame like it's nothing. This Guardian is completely baffled, seeing the woman frozen while our boy is totally unaffected. It boasts about erasing her past, wondering how Zhang Chen can possibly defy its absolute rules. It then senses a divine aura on him, demanding to know what this supposed human really is. Zhang Chen finally gets serious, ordering the Guardian to bring her back or he'll get violent. Enraged, the Guardian declares that any blasphemer, no matter who they are, will pay the price. Just then, his spirit guide appears, telling him the Guardian's power source is its sword. With a clear target, Chen charges forward, ready to shatter that divine weapon in a single strike. Zhang Chen sizes up the ancient sword, casually noting how sharp it stayed over the years. This Guardian is completely stunned, recognizing Zhang Chen's weapon as a soul-breaking blade. Our boy just smirks, saying if one hit doesn't do the trick, he'll just swing again. In a panic, the Guardian summons a massive ice hammer, desperately trying to block the attack. And just like that, Zhang Chen is frozen solid, trapped mid-swing in a block of ice. This Guardian is actually winded, shocked that a mere human forced it to burn through its divine energy. It boasts about rewriting the rules of this space, erasing Zhang Chen's speed and strength from existence. Inside the ice, Zhang Chen realizes he's completely paralyzed, unable to move a muscle. But just then, his little spirit guide pops out, looking like it's about to throw down. This little guy immediately bolts, making Zhang Chen think his own spirit just bailed on him. It stands defiantly on the ground, staring up at the Guardian's handiwork with a plan in mind. Suddenly, the ice crown from before comes hurtling down from the sky, and the Guardian finally catches on to the plan, just as a hand grabs it from behind. Enraged, it vows to finish off the human first, convinced that will neutralize any other threats. It then swings its massive weapon, aiming to shatter the frozen Jiang Chen for good. But the little spirit, now wearing the crown, zips forward like a furry little missile. With a mighty bonk, it headbutts the divine weapon, sending a crack right through it. His other spirit guide chimes in, telling him the Guardian is weakened and now's his chance. With a final push, Jiang Chen completely shatters his icy prison. Now free, Jiang Chen unleashes his demonic power, ready to end this with one final strike. With his demonic power fully unleashed, Jiang Chen swings his blade straight at the Guardian, who can only scream in denial as the attack connects, completely overwhelming its divine form. This little crowned spirit watches as the Guardian's weapon shatters into a million pieces. And just like that, the Winter God's soul dissipates, freeing the silver-haired woman from her icy prison. This spell breaks for everyone else too, shattering the crystals that held the other contestants captive. This other guys are completely stunned, unable to process that a human just one-shot a god's soul. While one contestant is just happy to be alive, Jiang Chen calmly surveys the aftermath. But the mustached leader immediately gets in his face, furious that he destroyed their prize. He grabs Jiang Chen, screaming that the Winter God was his idol and he came here just to worship it. And now, thanks to our boy, his entire pilgrimage has been a complete and utter waste of time. Jiang Chen just blows him off, saying he couldn't care less about the treasure and they can have it. This sends the other contestants into a wild celebration, thanking their new generous benefactor. This mustache guy, however, is still trying to grasp the last remnants of the god's power, begging it to stay. Just then, a new silver-haired villain arrives, sensing the lingering divine energy from the fight. He immediately recognizes Jiang Chen, announcing it's time to settle the score for destroying his clone. With a smug look, the villain prepares to show them all what his true power looks like, unleashing his domain, which he claims is a power that comes dangerously close to a god's. He floats above them, boasting that he now controls the very laws of time and space in this area. Jiang Chen just looks on, completely unimpressed and muttering about what a hassle this is. Turns out the other contestants agree, roasting the guy's domain for being laughably weak. This villain roars at the peanut gallery, calling them ants for daring to question his power. But he's genuinely confused why his absolute domain isn't actually shutting them up. That's because Jiang Chen is right behind him, telling him to cut the monologue and just fight. Without another word, our boy sends the villain flying with a swift kick across the ice. This self-proclaimed master of space and time smashes into the ground with a pathetic thud, leaving him completely embedded in an ice wall, looking utterly humiliated. His subordinate calls out to him as he struggles to process how a mortal just ignored his rules. This subordinate tries to explain the god is gone, but the villain decides there's only one option left. He grabs his own guy by the face, announcing it's time for a little sacrifice to get the god's attention. In a last-ditch effort, he begins a ritual, offering his followers' life to summon the Winter God's will. He even has the audacity to blame Jiang Chen, claiming his only mistake was making him angry. Glowing with power, he boasts that he's been preparing for this very day for 80 long years. Jiang Chen just watches this whole dramatic display, completely baffled by the guy's plan. Meanwhile, the other contestants are just looking at him with pure pity, which only confuses the villain more. Even the little furry spirit looks like it's seen enough cringe for one lifetime. This others debate telling him his 80-year plan is a bust, but decide it's just too sad to watch. Finally, the villain realizes something's wrong. He can't sense the Winter God at all. He looks around as the ice energy fades, demanding to know what happened before he arrived. Tapping into his dead subordinate's memories, he starts to see the truth for himself, and the realization hits him like a truck. The Winter God's soul is already long gone. Jiang Chen tells the villain he can turn to ash right along with his so-called god. With a single touch, the self-proclaimed master of time and space is completely erased from existence. As he fades away, the villain finally realizes he was the clown in this story all along. But even as his form shatters, he vows that Jiang Chen hasn't truly won yet, who just walks off, casually noting that this guy's allies are probably going to be a huge pain. He then turns to his little spirit guide, saying he's not really interested in whatever comes next. Picking the little guy up, he warns it to do its job properly or he's not going to be gentle. This spirit tries playing dead, forcing an annoyed Jiang Chen to shake it back to reality. Suddenly, a mysterious horned woman appears, thanking him for making her plan so easy to execute. Turns out she's a primordial spirit, and the Winter God was just borrowing her power this whole time. Before she can monologue any further, a hand grabs her from behind, and Jiang Chen lifts her into the air, demanding to see just how supreme she really is. She's completely flustered, realizing he planned to take out the god from the very beginning. Now she's forced to explain that the world is actually run by 7 primordial spirits like her. Jiang Chen is having none of it, telling her to cut the exposition and get to the point. She clarifies that becoming a god here is basically a dead-end job, a completely futile dream. Anyone who inherited the Winter God's power would have just become a puppet on this continent. That's why she orchestrated this whole mess, making Jiang Chen realize there's a bigger threat out there. He immediately calls her out, asking why a supreme being needed a human to do her dirty work. She just looks him dead in the eye, insisting that she isn't lying to him. She clarifies her power is tied to the continent, which is how she can sense something is very wrong. And she drops the bombshell that this entire icy realm isn't even their home continent. This news, unsurprisingly, catches Jiang Chen completely off guard. She admits she doesn't have all the answers either, saying she'll have to investigate herself. But as she prepares to leave, Jiang Chen grabs her leg, telling her to hold on for a second. He then casually hoists her over his shoulder, much to her complete and utter shock. Our boy is clearly not in the mood for any more of her cryptic games or grand plans. He then extracts some kind of pure essence from her, roasting her about hygiene in the process. Jiang Chen assures her the essence is so pure it wouldn't melt even in a forge, so she can relax. With that settled, she says the only task left is to purge the chaotic energy, which will take some time. Just then, the entire realm begins to flash freeze, with a voice yelling to grab the treasure and bail. Jiang Chen just sighs, admitting it was a mess, but at least the whole ordeal came with a reward. But his other spirit guide yells for him to wait, reminding him he hasn't collected his grand prize yet. As ice crashes down from the sky, the spirit mutters that it's up to Mei Mei to handle this. She immediately springs into action, using her own power to deal with the collapsing dimension. This somehow results in a bump on her head, and she's already planning how Jiang Chen will compensate her. Suddenly, they're in a lush garden, and Jiang Chen is holding a shovel, wondering if this is his new job. His guide explains that Mei Mei risked everything to save that seedling, so he'd better take care of it. Jiang Chen gets the picture, identifying the prize as some kind of skylight living water. And just like that, a system screen pops up, giving him his next quest: protect the seedling until it grows. Jiang Chen plants the seedling, and it instantly shoots a massive beam of light into the sky. He figures this skylight living water is packed with life force, so this quest should be a breeze. This seedling then immediately withers into nothing, much to his complete confusion. That's when Mei Mei swoops in, scolding him for trying to use his power on the seedling. She explains it must grow naturally, a detail Jiang Chen wishes she'd mentioned 5 seconds ago. Meanwhile, in a sunlit room, 2 new bounty hunters are discussing their next big score. This blonde one tells his partner to back off, declaring that Jiang Chen's life is his to take personally. His partner, Dark Crow, immediately calls him out for trying to hog the entire bounty. Blood Dog just smirks, acknowledging that Jiang Chen must be a true genius to have survived. Turns out his absolute favorite pastime is crushing talented people just to hear them suffer. Dark Crow remains skeptical, urging a bit more caution about their target's true strength. This just makes Blood Dog laugh, mocking his partner for getting paranoid and timid in his old age. His best guess is the last villain tried absorbing the god's power and simply imploded from the backlash. His partner insists on intervening if things get messy, and Blood Dog reluctantly agrees to the terms. At that exact moment, a predatory grin spreads across Blood Dog's face. He's found him. He stands up, boasting that tracking down this genius's aura was almost too easy. A nearby maid confirms Jiang Chen is downstairs, explaining he's an acquaintance of their boss. She calls him an ordinary person, a claim Blood Dog finds completely unbelievable as he watches him leave. This thought of an ordinary person with so much potential has him practically salivating with excitement. Sensing the immense power, he's absolutely certain this is the target he's been waiting for. Dark Crow points out that Jiang Chen's brother is also a serious powerhouse, which means this whole family is probably a massive headache to deal with. But Blood Dog just tells him to look outside for the real show, where Jiang Chen is casually hanging out with a high-tier divine beast and her demonic-looking friend. This maid then drops the bomb that this beast used to be a king before Jiang Chen made it his guard dog. This has Dark Crow panicking, realizing they've completely miscalculated Jiang Chen's actual influence. Blood Dog, however, is just tired of waiting and decides it's finally time to get his hands dirty. So he dramatically leaps out the window while Dark Crow calls him an absolute psycho. Unfortunately for him, the maid grabs him mid-stride, reminding him they haven't paid their bill yet. And just like that, the big tough bounty hunter is on the ground getting scolded for trying to skip out on tea, right at Jiang Chen's feet, who just looks down at him with zero patience. Blood Dog finally gets a good look at his target, confirming this is indeed Jiang Chen. But he's completely baffled, sensing that our boy only has second-tier strength. Jiang Chen just smirks, wondering how he got the drop on him if he's supposedly so weak. Turns out, even with his power drained, Jiang Chen's senses can cover half the town, which prompts Blood Dog to ask his partner what the best mages are even capable of. Dark Crow confirms that even the strongest can only sense a few dozen meters around them, leading Blood Dog to believe Jiang Chen is just running his mouth with an impossible bluff. Jiang Chen says he couldn't care less if they're just tourists, but he can clearly sense their killing intent. And since they came looking for a fight, he has no choice but to give them one. Blood Dog finally gets serious, realizing this Jiang Chen kid is definitely no pushover. He immediately changes his mind, telling Dark Crow they're attacking this guy together. With a furious roar, he lunges forward, convinced his raw power will be enough to win, only for Jiang Chen to stop his punch cold with a single unimpressed hand. A flash of icy energy erupts, and the bounty hunter is sent flying into the air. Finding himself completely encased in a block of ice, unable to even process what happened, Jiang Chen explains he's just too strong and letting him fight would have leveled the whole town. Inside his icy prison, Blood Dog can't believe his ultimate technique was just casually swatted aside. He finally realizes all the so-called geniuses he's crushed were nothing compared to Jiang Chen. As the ice around him begins to crack, he seems almost at peace with his defeat, accepting that losing to a true prodigy isn't such a bad way to go out. Meanwhile, Dark Crow is panicking, realizing he was way too careless about this whole job. His only thought is to retreat, knowing he should have bailed the second things went south. But Jiang Chen is already behind him, asking exactly where he thinks he's running off to. Dark Crow immediately hits the deck, begging for mercy and promising to never return. That's when a horned woman appears, scolding him for trying to flee a fight he started. She unleashes a blast of dark energy from her mouth, screaming for him to die. But Dark Crow just smirks, calling her a mere evil spirit as he summons his own dark orbs. His attack pierces right through her, leaving the demon woman looking genuinely shocked by the damage. But then another version of her appears right behind him, completely unharmed and ready to strike. Dark Crow is stunned, realizing he just stabbed an afterimage, not the real demon. This actual one appears right behind him, telling the prey it's time to die. And with a single strike, the second bounty hunter is down for the count. She immediately clings to Zhang Chen, asking why he took so long to come home. She then proudly boasts about protecting their crystal while he was away. Zhang Chen has absolutely no memory of this, but she hints at a romantic night together. So he summons a giant golden blade, warning her to stop talking nonsense before it slips. She immediately drops the act, begging him not to take her little jokes so seriously. Suddenly, she spits out a tiny red gooey version of herself onto the ground. This little clone is apparently the crystal she was talking about, a gift from him. He notes the clone's condition seems unstable, and she confirms it's a special technique. Turns out her power has grown so much that regular death energy just doesn't cut it anymore. Her solution is to visit an imperial tomb, which should have plenty of high-quality death energy. But the monarch's holy aura mixed with the death energy, creating a chaotic poison for her clone. This little one just wants to be useful, and Zhang Chen is finding this whole world increasingly weird. But he latches onto one key detail, the mention of chaotic spiritual energy in that tomb. He immediately grabs her hand, demanding she take him there right now. She's completely touched, thinking he'd risk a dangerous tomb just for her sake. Zhang Chen clarifies he's only after the chaotic energy, but he'll grab some death energy for them too. This just makes her promise to create even more clones for him, much to his visible annoyance. Zhang Chen is clearly done with her games, threatening to get serious if she doesn't lead the way. At the tomb's entrance, she warns him that 3 incredibly strong guardians are waiting inside. Zhang Chen just asks for a power level, completely unfazed by the supposed threat. She clarifies their real strength isn't just raw power, but the fact they're essentially immortal. Meanwhile, inside a massive snow-covered cathedral, a different meeting is taking place. A mysterious hooded man is summoned by a blue-haired elf woman in a red dress. She's not happy, telling him the higher-ups are furious about his recent failure, and a guy named Lei Shi's death. He just scoffs, blaming the dead guy for being too weak to handle a god's power. She reminds him that the weakling was a key pawn in a plan that's been in motion for decades. Turns out, he gave the guy the ice source knowing full well he'd probably implode from it. Now she has to clean up his mess, which means activating the 3 guardians in the tomb ahead of schedule. Back with Zhang Chen, he realizes this tomb's chaotic energy is exactly what his seedling needs to grow. He steps into the vast, eerie cavern, wondering what kind of welcome party awaits him. This place is littered with glowing tombstones, all seemingly begging for death, which he finds odd. Suddenly, a massive skeletal warrior erupts from the ground, swinging its giant blade right at him, but he dodges effortlessly, finally understanding these must be the monsters his guide warned him about. Just then, an old woman with white hair yells at him from below, telling him to get down here. She frantically warns him that getting touched by those creatures is a one-way ticket to trouble. Zhang Chen just brushes her off, calmly stating he's keeping his distance and is perfectly safe. She gets right in his face, demanding to know why he'd willingly walk into this death trap. Zhang Chen just asks the old lady where to find the chaotic energy he came for. This seems to send her into a fit as she clutches her chest in sudden agony, coughing up a handful of blood and looking like she's on her last legs. With her time running out, she just points him in the right direction, unable to help further. He offers his assistance, but she shoves him off, telling him to just hurry up. Since he doesn't sense any malice from her, Zhang Chen decides she's probably not a threat. This woman gives him a strict 1-hour deadline to grab his things and get back here. Our boy agrees and heads deeper into the tomb without a second thought. Watching him go, the old woman is stunned by his incredible movement speed. He ventures down into a massive crystalline chasm, completely undeterred by the scale of it. Inside, he finds a cavern absolutely overflowing with the chaotic spiritual energy he needs. Suddenly, a crowned elf girl pops up from behind a crystal, startling him completely. Her red-haired friend calls out, telling her to hurry up so they can finally go get food. Zhang Chen is completely baffled to find other people just chilling in this supposedly lethal tomb. This redhead spots him and immediately tells him to scram if he values his life. But then she doubles over, coughing up blood just like the old woman did moments ago. He rushes over to help, but she angrily tells him not to touch her. Zhang Chen muses that he's only being nice because the old lady helped him out first. He helps her to a nearby rock anyway, telling her to just rest there for a bit. She gives him a suspicious look, wondering what his deal is, while he seems just as confused. This first guardian, a skeletal warrior, pops up with a very original die here threat. But Zhang Chen just recognizes it as one of the welcoming party, already moving to strike. A second guardian, a knight in a red cape, drops in for an ambush, followed immediately by a third, a creepy scarecrow-looking mage. Zhang Chen casually pins the knight's axe with his foot, noting the whole gang's here. He pulls out a glowing red dagger, clearly done with a warm-up, and in a flash of light, he carves right through all 3 of them, sending their parts flying as he declares the job's basically done. But the skeletal guardian immediately starts pulling itself back together, its eyes glowing red, while the other 2 reform, completely unfazed by being dismembered. Our boy finally gets it. These things are literally unkillable, just like he was told. So he powers up, challenging them to a regeneration race to see who runs out of juice first. Suddenly, a shadowy figure with claws lunges right at him out of nowhere. But Zhang Chen's energy constructs snap into place, trapping the attacker instantly, and the monster is revealed to be the old woman who just got snatched by the Scarecrow Guardian. Zhang Chen is genuinely surprised, realizing it's the same lady who gave him directions. Elsewhere, the red-haired girl and her friend are tied up with some new eye-patch-wearing dude. This eye-patch guy wakes up with a massive headache and a weird blush on his face. finding Zhang Chen standing over him, asking if he's finally awake. This guy just tells Zhang Chen to run, warning that he's about to lose control and kill him. Zhang Chen finds it pretty amusing that these demonic beings were the ones telling him to run. This red-haired girl is in total disbelief, wondering how he could possibly still be alive, while the old man sighs, lamenting that he's about to be forced into another killing spree. Zhang Chen tells them all to get a grip, reminding them he's the one who beat them dozens of times. This three of them are bound tight by his chains, with the eye patch guy daring him to try and kill them. They're all completely stunned, as the old man confirms they've been defeated by him over and over again. Instead of rage, the eye patch guy starts laughing, thrilled someone might finally end their suffering. Turns out, these three were legendary geniuses from hundreds of years ago. They came to this tomb seeking the power of an ancient god's remnant soul, but absorbing that power corrupted them, turning them into bloodthirsty monsters. Now they need to consume fresh blood just to stay sane, otherwise they go completely feral. This god's power also made them immortal, so they couldn't even die, forcing them to seal themselves away. Zhang Chen finally understands why the tomb was so wrecked and why they were begging for death. This eye patch guy figures if Zhang Chen can beat them, he can kill them and begs for a quick end. Our boy just holds up his dagger, asking if fresh blood is really the key to their sanity. This red-haired girl confirms it, but warns that the amount of blood they need is immense. Zhang Chen just smirks, a plan clearly forming in his mind, so he cuts his own thumb, offering them a single drop of his blood. This eye patch guy tells him it's useless, that a single drop can't possibly cure their demonization. But with no other options, he reluctantly opens his mouth to take the offered drop. This second that drop of blood hits his tongue, a violent red aura explodes from his body, and he grits his teeth, clearly fighting against the demonic energy's last stand, while the redhead tells him it's useless, but he's just stunned by how fast it's working. In a flash, the corruption is gone, leaving him sparkling clean and feeling incredible. He confirms the god's evil aura is suppressed, and he can even control his demonization now, calculating that a single drop of blood will keep him sane for a full year. This red-haired girl is completely floored that such a tiny amount could have such a lasting effect. When the old woman asks who he is, Zhang Chen just says he figured his dragon blood would work. He then clarifies he's not a dragon, he just happens to have a dragon's heart for reasons. This old woman is overcome with gratitude, thanking him for giving them a second life. In that moment, all three of them kneel, pledging their undying loyalty to him as their master. Zhang Chen just tells them to go do whatever they want, and he'll call if he needs anything. This redhead's immediate plan is to leave this world and open up her very own candy shop. Cut to a city street where she's actually done it, running a small sweet soup stand. She serves up a cup with a confident wink, settling into her new peaceful life. And her customer is none other than the eye patch guy, looking much more casual now. He takes a single sip and immediately slams the cup down, complaining about how awful it is. She's completely baffled, asking her old friend what could possibly be wrong with it. Turns out it's so sickeningly sweet he can't even drink it, so she offers a do-over. As she cleans up, she thinks to herself how wonderful it is to be a kind person, far from all the killing. She turns around with a fresh cup, only to find her customer has completely vanished, while some new, incredibly arrogant guy strolls into town, calling all the locals worthless trash. This redhead chases after him, just trying to deliver the sweet soup he apparently ordered. But he just smacks it right out of her hand, telling her to get lost and stop bothering him. He suddenly gets a worried look, remembering rumors about this town being infested with monsters. This guy just mutters to himself, assuming his informant took the money and bailed on him. He then casually tells her he's off to kill someone and will be right back, a totally normal thing to say. When he feels a tap on his shoulder, he whips around, ready to yell at her again for being persistent. But it's the skeletal guardian, asking him to repeat that last part about the killing spree. Back in the forest, the eye patch guy is formally apologizing to Zhang Chen for their earlier misunderstanding. Zhang Chen couldn't care less, completely focused on his seedling, which he's finally managed to revive. He tells the redhead that if anyone has a problem with him, they're more than welcome to come try something. This eye patch guy asks if he's cultivating the plant, clearly recognizing its importance. Our boy just sighs, wondering how long it's going to take for this thing to finally grow up. Seeing an opportunity to be useful, the eye patch guy claims he might have a way to speed up the process. Zhang Chen immediately shuts that down, explaining that forcing its growth with spiritual power will just backfire. But the guy has a loophole in mind, asking what would happen if they used the power of a nature spirit. He explains that these spirits are the literal lifeblood of a region, controlling all its vitality, and it just so happens he knows a special technique to summon them directly to their location. He taps into his demonic side, unleashing a powerful call to draw the spirits right to them. His demonic call works like a charm, summoning a tiny glowing deer spirit from the forest. This eye patch guy explains this is the strongest nature spirit for miles, now at their service. He smirks, pointing out that its mere presence is already nourishing Zhang Chen's special plant. And sure enough, the seedling is glowing with life, sprouting new leaves almost instantly. Impressed, the eye patch guy immediately offers to trade his summoning technique for Zhang Chen's help. He begins the knowledge transfer, sending the complex summoning method right over to him. This guy figures it'll take Zhang Chen months to master what takes others years to learn. But Zhang Chen just holds up a finger, ready to try it, leaving his new friend utterly baffled. On his very first try, he summons a slightly chunky cat with glowing blue ears. This new spirit immediately starts rubbing against his leg like it's found its one true master. This eye patch guy is completely floored, wondering why a proud spirit is acting so ridiculously friendly. He just assumes the cat must be incredibly weak, forced to cling to a human for survival. So when he reaches out for a friendly pat, the cat gives him a look of pure contempt, before spitting a tiny seed right in his face with some serious attitude. It then goes right back to fawning over Jiang Chen, leaving the other guy totally rejected. Watching from afar, the redhead admits she's never seen such an insane affinity for nature. She even jokes that if he'd been born in their era, he would have been the top dog. But the eye patch guy isn't convinced. Remembering the first spirit he ever summoned was far stronger. He recalls his own quest to a floating castle, seeking a truly legendary nature spirit, where he actually managed to find and summon a mythical dragon, a truly epic feat. His flashback cuts to some blindfolded queen talking about buying her people another 300 years. When a guard reports they've found the son of her rival hiding out in the mountains. She scoffs at the location, calling it a total backwater dump, but since it's her enemy's kid, she orders him taken out, root and stem. This queen then goes on a whole villain monologue about her dear sister, who she thought was dead. And she's pretty confident her sister's dream of becoming some heavenly chosen one is never gonna happen. But in the middle of her gloating, she feels something is very, very wrong, and whips around to find the legendary spirit she was guarding has just vanished into thin air. Which of course cuts back to Jiang Chen, who just summoned that exact spirit on his second try. This redhead is blown away by his talent, and even the eye patch guy has to admit it's possible, speculating that with a few centuries of training he could summon a truly monarch-level spirit. He starts listing off these ancient god-tier spirits like rock turtles and ice song dragons, and the redhead asks if he's talking about the super rare, glowing spirit dragons of legend. He's a little surprised she even knows about them, asking why she never brought it up before. But she just tells him to turn around and look at what their new master just did. And materializing behind Jiang Chen is a massive, glowing, and very real spirit dragon. This legendary beast hovers right behind him, looking like it's been his partner for centuries. This eye patch guy's brain completely short-circuits, his epic dragon story now looking absolutely pathetic. He can't believe he's seeing a creature of myth he thought he'd never lay eyes on in his life. Jiang Chen just tells the legendary beast to chill out before it drains them both of their energy. This eye patch guy points, stammering as his brain struggles to even identify the mythical beast before him.